they can hear us all right.
What are you smoking, bro? I want some of that.
Oh, there we are.
Good to see you, America. What's up? And world, I guess. You know, we don't want to limit ourselves here. Welcome to Hawkwind's Radio Picture Show. My name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
Oh, I guess
and you just heard the bell.
Just heard the bell.
Show's over. See you guys.
Good seeing you. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Half kidding. No, we're not kidding. Because we got a great show for you guys tonight. Attack the Sound is in the building.
In his house.
Let go.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Tonight we have Lo, we got Davo, and we got Matt in the building. You guys got a big group in your posse. Well, welcome. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight on this beautiful Wednesday night here. Again, welcome. For those of you just tuning in, again, this is Attack the Sound, coming to you live from Hawkwind's Radio Picture Show. Hey.
Yeah.
All right, bing, bing. All right.
What's up, guys?
Hello. Hey, what's going on?
Well,
Nice.
welcome. Well, what do you say? Let's get a quick introduction. We'll go down the line here. If you guys can say your name, what part of the band you are in, and maybe tell us your favorite ice cream flavor or your favorite cocktail. You guys were talking about cocktails earlier.
Okay.
Favorite cocktail?
Okay.
All right.
Favorite cocktail to pair with ice cream.
There you go.
Ooh.
There you go.
You're making me think.
There you go.
All right, where are we doing?
Start on that side.
Oh,
Oh,
of course. Ladies first.
yeah.
Ladies
Right.
first. It's
I'm
only-
Lo. You can call me Lo Keys. But I am the keyboardist, and I also do vocals and background vocals too. And my favorite ice cream, I would say s'mores.
Good pick.
I like s'mores.
What about cocktail?
Oh, and cocktails. I totally forgot that
Yeah, 'cause
fast.
you gotta pair it with the cocktail.
Okay. For my cocktail, I would say I like Cosmopolitans and Sex on the Beach. Those are my two favorites.
Would that go good with s'mores ice cream?
Not at all.
It will. To me.
It might
For
give you
me,
diabetes, but
It would be great enough for me.
I was thinking mezcal would maybe be a good one for s'mores. You know, it's got that.
Oh,
I'd
smoke.
have
Oh.
to try it. Yeah.
Kind of tastes like
when
a
you can't have the
bonfire.
fire, you can have the smoke.
Yeah. If I had $1 for every time I heard that.
So you want the smoke?
No, I don't want the smoke.
Oh,
I don't want the
sure.
smoke. And how about you, Davo?
So I'm Davo Sounds. I'm the lead singer and half-fast rhythm guitarist for Attack the Sound. My favorite cocktail is definitely a whiskey sour. So it's got those, that sour citrus notes there. And I think to pair well with that, I don't really do ice cream, but a rainbow sherbet would go perfect with that.
I can see
Yeah,
that.
I mean-
Does that count?
I can see that.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I
It
can
counts.
I can see like whiskey sour being a flavor of sherbet. You know what I mean?
Sweet and sour, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got like the whole egg white thing going on.
I
with
love
it,
that.
You know what I
The
mean?
froth at the
Yeah.
end. And that's specifically when you do it, because I'm deep in the trenches here. So you got your dive bar whiskey sour, which is gonna be like some freaking sour mix that like you'll use for margaritas and whiskey. They just
Like
dump it
well
in a cup
whiskey.
together
Yeah.
and they roar.
Yeah.
That's
Wells
it.
whiskey, oh
Then you
God.
get a little bit more fancy and say, hey, we're gonna take simple syrup, which is just water and sugar, right? They take that, squeeze some lemons, they'll throw it in the cup, a little bit of sour mix, and then your whiskey of choice. So that's a little bit. Then you got the middle range where they're like, hey, actually we make cocktails here, so they're gonna take that lemon juice, right, with the simple syrup, throw it in over ice, right, and they're shaking that over ice with the whiskey, and then putting that through. That's where most people have seen it, but then you have what's called doing it up. So it's
Ooh.
done up is with the egg white,
Dude.
froth on the end. But one of my personal favorites for breakfast, because every time I get off of work in the morning and go for breakfast, do a New York sour, which is your whiskey sour, done up. So it's in like a martini glass for the most part. It's done up that way. It's frothed with the egg white, and then it's layered with red wine. That's your New York sour.
Huh.
Never tried that. That
Makes
sounds
it,
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little extra fancy.
Yeah,
From
try
New
that.
York.
Try that with some rainbow sherbet.
Hell yeah.
The breakfast of champions.
You're damn right.
And how about you, Matt?
My name is Matt.
It's Matt Devine.
Matt Devon is my official name. I'm the bass player in Attack the Sound and also the co-MD. Me and Lo are actually both the musical director. So that basically means we get to be like a dick to people in practice.
For sure.
Yeah.
And on stage.
Yeah.
I love it.
They're really mean to me.
Yeah.
They take all their frustration out on me. I'm a punching bag.
Ice cream wise, I used to hate it when I was a kid, but like I really like Neapolitan ice cream. Like it's like the mix of the flavors, like when you get like that interface between the strawberry, the vanilla, and the chocolate, like in one bite. It's very elegant, I guess is the word. Like I said, it's one of the things I hated as a kid, and now I like love it as an adult. And then for drinking, that is a good one. Like I actually grew up super religious growing up, so like I didn't drink alcohol till I was an adult. And I feel like for like the last like many years, I've been on a kick where I'm always trying like new alcohols. Like if I've never heard of it, I like want to try it. So for a while, like a Negroni was like my favorite cocktail, but lately I've been kind of like exploring like the European sensibility. So an amaretto on ice has been my go-to.
Oh, okay.
Very
Amaretto.
nice. Yeah.
Oh,
Fancy,
I was
man.
about
I was
to
gonna
say
say
it's
fancy,
fancy.
man.
Where's his pinky at? I enjoy hand a monocle. I enjoy a good amaretto over ice. Thank you.
Try it. It's good. It's
Oh
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man. I wish we knew fancy drinks.
Yeah, right?
Well, you guys. Oh yeah. What's yours then?
Free.
That'll do it.
Anything.
Whoever sponsors us, that's our favorite.
That's right.
No, but I think, I mean, for me personally, it's gonna be like whiskey or like any kind of bourbon whiskey.
It's a good one.
Irish whiskey's good too.
Oh yeah. Fuck
I like
yeah.
Jameson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of ice cream now?
Oh, I'd probably pair that with like pistachio ice cream. Maybe.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
I can see that.
That's like my
Yeah.
number two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, a free ice cream, free beer. I'm just, any of those, they're always really nice. Comp things are cool.
Gotcha.
Hell yeah.
So Attack the Sound. I commented earlier to Davo. I messaged him, and I still read my text apparently. I think I love your guys' sound sincerely. I think it's such a cool vibe. When I read on Spotify that you identify as shy pop, I was like, yeah, that hits right on the head.
Hey.
You guys are rock, you're jazz, you're blues, you're gospel, you're a bit of everything. What would y'all describe Attack the Sound as in its entirety?
Wow, Attack the Sound in its entirety. What we describe it as? Well, you hit some of those things, right? Because we are jazz, we are gospel, it's definitely rock. And the interesting thing about all of those genres is that regardless if you know it or not, you're about to get a little lesson. Those are all started by people of color. All right, rock and roll. Like obviously we know Chuck Berry, but there was a woman that actually pioneered like that sound before he became like the father of it. She was already the grandmother of it.
Mahalia?
Was that her name?
Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Her
She's
name is Thornton. Her last name is Thornton.
Oh.
Not big on the Thornton, but
yeah, but
Rosetta Thorpe, maybe?
Rosetta Thorpe.
Yeah.
is
There you
one
go.
of
Okay,
her-
well, I wasn't
that's-
sure if he was talking about.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Rosetta Thorpe.
So like,
there you go.
So like a lot of these sounds, and over time, and there's nothing wrong with it, but over time they become popularized by all cultures and genres, and then everyone kind of falls into their niche. So me growing up in the 90s, like all the rock music I listened to, no one looked like me, but I loved it. And you had, your Jimi Hendrix, who's far deceased, but Lenny Kravitz, right, who I could actually look up to and be like, that guy looks like me. And then Hoonie and the Blowfish, I had that too. Darius Rucker, you know what I mean? Even though I wasn't really in the country, but I was like, dude, they're mainstream and I see them, So this is like music that started from our roots, and it's being able to like reclaim that ownership and remind folks that, hey, this is inherently a part of us. Like it doesn't have to be what it is that we saw or identified, or the lanes that we found ourselves in the 90s, which was mostly like hip hop and R&B. It's like, oh, this is black music. It's really not. Like all of those forms. Jazz started by black, black people. Rock is pioneered and created by black people. Gospel, we don't even have to go there. That's undisputed. Like we don't even have to argue that. And so when it's all of those things, like it really becomes like this indie soul, right? That we're displaying. And obviously when you're doing music in this way where we're crossing genres and blending barriers. It's pop as well. So like shy pop is like our expression of indie soul and pop, but it's also just the inherent music that's in my loins that it's rooted in my DNA, so I can't get away from it. So I love when that question always comes up, because it's always one of those things where it's like, oh, well, what'd you listen to growing up? I used to just tell people, oh, I listened to Coldplay and Green Day and all those guys, but I listened to black music growing up. That's what I did, and that's the same thing that we're creating now and establishing now. So that's what shy pop is, and that's what Attack the Sound is.
Yeah, it's
Hope that answers the question.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely been, when I've invited people like to shows and stuff.
Let's go.
When I've invited people to shows and stuff, they've asked me like, oh, what kind of music is it? And it's like very hard to like describe it, especially for people that maybe only listen to like pop music on the radio. But I would say like maybe like a good comparison would be something like, it's almost like a review show, right? It runs the gamut of everything, as you said, from like R&B to rock to gospel music, et cetera, et cetera. And so like for me, like a good comparison would be maybe like Ike and Tina Turner, like the Ike Turner review.
Without the
wife beating.
Without the abuse.
Oh, that goes without saying.
She beats me, if anything.
No,
Or
it's a lie.
another good example would be like I grew up like in a very like Caucasian neighborhood, so there like I think people had a very like narrow view of what was like white music versus black music. So for instance, like growing up, like people would only listen to like grunge or Coldplay or Green Day or whatever, like white music made by white musicians. And then if anyone was listening to like rap or R&B, they're like, oh, that's black music, right? But because I grew up in like such a strict household, I didn't see like Purple Rain till I was like basically like an adult. And when I saw it, I guess I had like a narrow view of what it would be. Like I thought it would be like black music. And then, right, like if you've ever seen the movie or listened to any Prince music, I mean, it's like everything. I mean, he shreds on the guitar like Eddie Van Halen. Like he writes like slow jams like Luther Vandross. I mean, he does like everything. Like you couldn't put him in a box for like a specific type of music. And so, when I met like Davo and heard some of
Did
his
you just
music,
compare me to Prince? Did you guys get that? That's what I got.
If Prince
That's
was
what I
like a
heard.
really shitty guitarist like that, I'm kidding.
No, I take that. That's still a comparison to Prince.
It's
like,
a good,
you don't
yeah.
understand.
I've said
is
that before.
I think it's the beret.
If they think
I
of
think it's
Prince
the
and
beret.
they think of you, then you've won, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're in the same conversation. Let's fucking go.
I would say it's definitely a compliment. Like when I first heard it, I was like, man, I don't even know like how to describe this. And yeah, no, I mean, even now I struggle to like find like what exact genre he really like gears towards or we gear towards as a band. But it kind of is like everything, probably because like black music has like inspired and touched so many different areas of, music in America.
Also, if anybody is like a resident freaking just like connoisseur of black music, it's Matt. So he knows what he's talking about. Trust
Thank
me.
you. Appreciate it.
Now, Lo is the musical director of the group.
Co-director.
Co-director.
Co-MD.
Where's Attack the Sound heading into the future?
I think we're headed to where everyone will know us really soon. We're doing really good things. We're very consistent, with our rehearsals and what we do overall. We come together. That's one of our songs that we sing. And we work together to get the job done, to get to where we want to go. So I think we have a great group of people. And as the co-MD, I'm able to see what everyone is working with, and I work around that, but I also work with them. So it's definitely an experience for the most part. So
Yeah. One you got to see live.
yes.
Yeah. Every time I was listening to your music, I'm like, they must crush it live,
Yeah.
Wind Instruments live in Chicago, that's a hype party waiting to get going. So I'm looking forward to see y'all perform in person very soon. Cool. So, but your videos are really incredible too. We were watching your music videos earlier. Can you tell us a little bit of what was the process like of making the music videos, or any shout out of the videographers you want to look at recognition, and tell us a little bit about them? Yeah,
so I think it goes by Birdhouse Entertainment now. It's one of the main collaborators with the music videos. The Lucas brothers are the others. So I think out of all those videos, and then what's JD Visuals.
Jeremy?
Yeah, JD Visuals. So those three have been like huge with helping me bring the vision of like each of those music videos to life, because I actually write all the treatments and I direct them as well, and then I go to and I edit them right along with them. So I've had to learn how to use every like program, whatever they're editing with. I'm sitting at home and I'm like, okay, so this is how Premiere Pro works. So when I go to these sessions, I can say, hey, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and this is how I want to do it. Like when we did Fadia, for example, on the first day of shooting, we got there and I was like, hey, you know what would be really cool if we can have some slow-mo stuff? And like, all right, cool. Well, I'll just slow the stuff down. And I'm like, wait a minute. You've got like 3 or 4 cameras. They all have like different, what are they called? They all got different processing speeds and like shutter speeds and all that. So I was like, I learned this technique that I was researching like last week. What we're going to do is we're going to take the song and we're going to put it in double time. And we're going to perform to it in double time. And then you just slow it back down so that it doesn't like mess with the... Dude, it was the funniest shit ever listening to our song in double time.
It was a bop.
But it sounds so good. And I'm talking, so Fadia is the most recent song that we released, and that's the one we're mentioning. It sounds so good. I was like, I should release this. But then once we slowed it down, like he was able to see like the whole world of possibilities opened up. So I sat with them through, I think we did like maybe like 10 hours straight editing that video to get it to where it is. But a lot of that is just, I've taken so much time, and we were kind of talking before this, I've taken so much time to like sit down and listen. And when I have ideas, I write them down. And I'll feel something, I'm like, this reminds me of that. And instead of just going to listen to the song, I also listen to the music video. Like I'm a huge fan of like Kings of Leon. So when I go and I'm like, oh, I really like this song, I'll go find a music video. And there's times that they've had like some really crazy, like inner, like secting music videos with different songs. And it just like will open like your like kind of creative space. And so whenever I feel something and it kind of matches and feels similar to what it is I'm trying to do, I then go and study that artist. What have they done? And that was basically same thing here. Steve Lacy, I was like listening to some of his music at the time. I was really like just like, oh, I haven't really dove into this guy. I know he was with Odd Future and all this stuff. And so I'm diving into his music. I'm like, I wonder if they got a music video for this song called Sunshine. And they did. And in Sunshine, they did the exact same thing because they have this scene where he's like hoisted on this crane. And he's hoisted on the crane and he's playing guitar as he's coming down on the crane. And I'm like, how the did they make that happen? You know, I'm thinking about it. So I watched the behind the scenes, did the same thing, double speed up and then slowed it down so it has this dramatic and emotional like feeling without losing any of the quality. And so we did the same thing with Fadia. But that's just an example of like I study everybody. I research everyone because it's the only way to get better. There was a quote I saw on Facebook. It was someone reading a quote from Michael Jackson having a manifesto when he was a kid, and basically right before he decided to go solo. And he said, next year I have to be better than I've ever been. I have to be a student. I have to study everybody. I have to be better. He's just saying like just giving all these affirmations of what he wants to do and needs to do. And some of the things he said in there is like what I contribute to great like artists, not just musicians, but great artists, anybody that cares about their craft and like, this is what I want to do. Like you study everything, right? Like you say you do editing. How many editing softwares have you mastered? Right? Like
Shit,
you
man.
went through, you know, I do
A,
like
B, and C to get to fucking, you know.
music. I started with Mixcraft is what I started like producing and editing music with. And then I went to Fruity Loops, and then eventually I got Audacity, and then I got freaking
good
Ableton.
Audacity.
Yeah, right? Ableton
remember
and
that.
Pro Tools and now Logic. But all of that stuff I was studying and just getting better. And so, yeah, with those music videos, I take the time to sit down and look at what's come before me and what can I do to make it better, or how do I make this song stand out amongst everything else that's out there, you know? It's to the point where we got, what was it? Love is War. I don't know if you saw the music video for that one, but we ended up winning like 4 awards for that.
I was reading that. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And that was the Midwest Film Festival.
Yeah,
correct?
so I got 3 at the Midwest Film Festival, and then there was a 4th one that was at another film festival. So around this time, I just got a crazy idea. I was like, you know what? This music video is fantastic, but the amount of money and time I've invested in this, I want to make sure people see it. So they happen to open up a category for music videos. I don't know if they still do it. They probably do. And if they do, like, we've got tons of more new content that I think would be well. But they opened up a slot for music videos, and I submitted. And we made it past, like, the first initial round, and we actually won Best at Show, like, for the entire festival. And then it had an award show, so all of the winners of each category basically were, like, pit up against each other. And then we ended up winning Best Cinematography.
Wow,
And then the guy who did that, what was it? One of the Lucas brothers. I think it was Jerome. Yeah, Jerome Lucas. And if you don't know who the Lucas brothers are, look them up. They're one of, like, the craziest, coolest, like, brother duo of making like visual content. They're super expensive, but at this time during the pandemic, they were just like, hey, let's just do $250 music video deals. So I got, like, the highest quality camera and the highest quality person for $250.
That's awesome.
And he came out and he shot that. So that video cost me $250, like, to get the guy to shoot it, obviously the edit and all that stuff. And, you know, you guys know how I do with music videos. So I pay for, like, I'll make sure that we have catering there, our crafties. We'll have, like, we'll have breakfast and lunch, but all that stuff included. It was relatively cheap, but it was still like, okay, that was a huge investment, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got that one. I can't remember the other festival that we won Best at Show as well. And so, you know, they give you those reels or whatever. It's basically like a badge. It's a watermark from the festival saying what award you won, and I have all of those, like, in my content creation folder, because I have a folder dedicated to that. And I've been meaning to, like, repost that stuff and just, like, kind of just like, oh yeah, hey, we did this thing and we got these things. But yeah, music, man, Love Is War was huge. Like, that actually got us into the top 20,000 bands in the entire world. That single
awesome.
itself, yeah. So I look back on just taking the leap of faith, doing something that I wanted to do my way, giving my own creative input to the world, and being able to do it freely. And all this stuff happened afterwards, and I wasn't looking for that. I just wanted to release a song. Just wanted to release some music, you know.
Well, it just goes to show that, you know, you just got to release it out to the world and let the people enjoy it and let them love it. And they definitely responded in doing such. You know, with all that being said about, you know, how you do your process of creating art, creating video, I was wondering if maybe you can talk us through what's the difference between indie or DIY, in your opinion?
Okay. Is anybody else? I mean, I'll go.
No,
I think we all could go.
You can go.
Yeah.
Hey, go
No,
ahead.
start with you. Start with
You
you.
want to start with me? Okay. Well, okay, so DIY means to do it yourself, and that means anything, right? Before I give you my answer, I'm just going to go into this small little snippet here, okay? Especially for content here. In the Chicago scene of DIY, I'm so confused on why we, like, put these limitations on it. It's like, oh, well, you can't get any help whatsoever, quote unquote. And most times it feels like it's just for certain people. Oh, no. You can't be DIY because you got help. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, how do you get to determine what's DIY and what's not? You know? So, honestly, there is no real difference and distinguish between the two, because I'm independent. I'm doing it myself as well. It's just, I'm not afraid to, and this is more or less to the Chicago scene, not the world scene, but I'm more or less not afraid to use the infrastructures that are already here and laid out for me to use, such as being on a podcast, right? Because maybe this thing blows up. So I can't attribute my success to anything other than the fact that I was here. But the reality is that we're working this together. You guys are doing something your own, and you've created this medium and this platform for people to come and share their views and ideas and artistic creative spaces. And I have a creative like entity, identity, space, platform that I'm building. The two work hand in hand. And that's what pisses me off so much about the DIY spaces, because they'll tell you, oh, well, if you have somebody help you with your social media, you're not DIY. It's like, the fuck you I can't do everything. You know, the best thing you could ever learn is that you need help. But it doesn't mean that you can't still do it yourself. Like, I did it myself up to this point, and now I'm going to have to ask for help. Doesn't mean that I won't go back to doing it myself. It's just like right here, to get over this hurdle, I need your support, right? And once I get past that hurdle, maybe you taught me stuff in the process. Like, we bartered along the way. And it's like, hey, I helped you up to this point, and now moving forwards, here's some ideas to help you run it a little bit smoother. And
All right, okay.
yeah, hold on, last thing. And so, like, coming into the group after being gone for so long, I didn't realize the space had changed a lot. And I went in there offering help that I knew that I needed, 10 years ago, that no one was offering. And so I'm like, hey, I'm offering something that no one else is willing to do or say verbally. A lot of guys I've seen are helping a lot in the DIY page, are silent about it. They'll like post a link and they won't tell you what it is, and then you open the link and it's like all these freaking resources, right? It's like, I found that in the page and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. How come we're not promoting this more? And that goes to another conversation that we can have when it starts to talk about gatekeeping. But there is support out there. I don't think that it is wrong to utilize the support, and that doesn't make you not doing something yourself. And so being an indie artist or anything, you're doing it yourself as well. Like, they're the same thing. Just, I prefer to use indie now because I'm not afraid to use the infrastructures in place, because they've been beneficial for us. I mean, we're still being seen like all around the world. Like, while we're sitting here, someone hit me up on Instagram from freaking, I don't know, Indonesia or something. And like, hey, I saw this video with you like singing this song. I can't find, what's the name of that song? I'm like, it's called Pick Up Your Phone. And then it's, oh, okay, sweet, great, thanks, bye.
That's funny.
I would have never met those people otherwise, had I not utilized the infrastructure that we have here. So they're enjoying the music and the content that we have, and it's outside of this Chicago space, and those are real fans. So if they want to be DIY, they can stay DIY.
I mean, I don't think he gave a bad answer. I will say, like, obviously there's a lot of overlap between like indie and DIY. A lot of indie artists start off DIY. And similarly, I mean, you could go an entire music career and just be DIY or indie the whole time. I mean, if you're self-releasing your own music, is it not both DIY and indie? So, I mean, I don't know if there's like a terribly huge distinction until maybe you get like to be a much bigger band where you're like, oh, we could get signed or we could be indie, right? Like, that's like a common discussion, that you might hear amongst bands, especially when it's talking about like authenticity. Specifically him in Chicago, like, I know he has like thoughts about the DIY scene. As someone who came from like the DIY scene here, I will say, like, if you're on forums and chats and stuff, like, generally most people might not say much, and the people who are very talkative tend to be like extremely opinionated, similar to like Reddit, right? Like, most of the comments are going to be by people that are like, very much at the extreme of either side of like, a question or an opinion. Most of the DIY people I've met in Chicago have been like fantastic people. I mean, they were letting me play gigs there when I first started off in like several bands.
Same, yeah.
And yeah, a lot of them have been like lifelong friends at this point. People I would definitely like gig with or book together with. So of course, like in any scene, music scene or DIY scene or indie scene, I mean, you're gonna meet, people that might not like what you're doing. But I feel like generally most of the musicians I've met, like in the DIY scene, have been like very supportive. And they're not like so strict about like what constitutes like, oh, you're no longer doing it by yourself anymore.
I think that's because you always provide a service of playing for them. I think because it's a little different, because I hear what you're saying and I know what you mean, because he plays in like quite a few other bands. So meeting guys in that space, in that scene, they're probably going to be genuinely nice to him. Why? Because the main reason why most people especially in the Chicago DIY scene, are nice to other people is because they need something or they want something. It's not because they generally just want to be nice. They don't just care. Oh, this guy Matt, he's great. Oh no, Matt plays keys and he plays guitar and he can play bass. So they see that, and I just do this as a case study. And she'll tell you, I would set a reminder every other Tuesday to just go in there and say some shit to tick people off.
Stuff like that, right? Like, I mean, you're like poking them.
Now, if you look back at those posts for the chat itself, for that closed group, they basically went viral because everyone had something negative to say. But before I came in there, 2 days in a row, someone's in there asking for help, right? So it's them needing something. No one replies. No one responds. Hey, I'm looking for a rehearsal space. Quiet. I'm looking for a place to perform. Quiet. Hey, you guys don't support enough, and you're all fake. You're not real supporters. You're fake supporters. Oh well, this guy. Blah, blah. Oh, now you know how to use your keyboard, right? And that's what it was about. It was never. It was never too serious. It only became too serious because some of the same people who are, hey, you should accept us for who we are and for what we have, started to talk really nasty and dirty about me. Like, I served time in the military, so they were calling me a baby killer. They were saying you shouldn't be happy for your service, not realizing and understanding the nuance of I grew up poor and in the hood, and the few options that I had was to get out of there was college, the league, and I'm 5'7", so I wasn't going to no league, right? Or the military, okay? And college, just, you know, I'm running the race, but just intelligence was just that much faster, okay? So I was like, all right, we're not making it to college, man. It's just not gonna happen. I took the ACT 3 times, got the same score. We got to talk about what it was, and I was like, you know what, you got it. So I went to the military, you know, and I've had plenty of family members and others that have gone to the military and made a really good like life and career for themselves because they were a part of a system and a structure that obviously pushed society forwards, right? I'm not saying that there isn't bad because we are trained to be war fighters. That is what it's for. So I get that. I served in the military. I've been deployed. I fought in war. I get it. I'm not saying that, hey, the military is the greatest thing ever. No, but when you don't have any other options, like that's it. And you're not going to then come here later and because you disagree with me and say, oh, well, you're shitty because of this. It's like, do you even understand why that is the case and why my community only has that option and why your community, because most of these guys that were saying these things to me were not black. And it's like why your community had different options and it's super nuanced because I don't blame them either. Like when the government or governments or people choose to underfund other areas, it's not their fault that they live in a system that was supporting them and I lived in a system that wasn't supporting me. There was nothing that you could have done about that. I'm 33, so if you're 33 as well, there's nothing that you could have done at that age to change it because you were a child, right? But you have to accept that those systems do exist and that they are there. And then you won't say these types of things to people like me when you make those type of assessments. Now, if just be honest, if I was a freaking middle-aged, white guy who chose to go to the military after I grew up in an affluent neighborhood like Lincoln Park my entire life, and both my parents were married and doctors and had all this money. Well, that guy's going to the military for a very different reason than I am. Like, for me, it was like, I don't have many options. For him, it was like, you know what? I get to make a choice on what I get to do in life, and this is what I get to decide. Like, those are different things. So when they made, either way, I blew it up because I saw how much how often people were asking for help and just didn't get it. But anytime I saw you guys may have posted about, hey, we would love to get people on the show, flood it with people. Oh yeah, here's my email. Like, I was surprised you hit me back so fast because I saw all the people that have hit you up. I can see it. There was a post that resurfaced of a lady who was like, hey, I want to build this roster of bands to open for touring groups and I can help you guys out. Just flood it with posts. Oh, we would like to open. Here's our email. Here's our EPK, whatever. Just do. When they need something, they can use their keyboards. When you need something, if it does not serve them, it's not there.
Yeah, and I think that's everything you said was very well put. I agree with everything you said, especially like, maybe the racial or socioeconomic, sort of angle that you were describing, like going into the military. I feel like what you experienced with like DIY musicians in Chicago will probably happen like in any like major city with the music scene.
Well, it's not the music. It's not the musicians. I just want to make that.
Yeah, it's the
distinction.
people. It's definitely the people.
It's not the musicians.
It's not, yes.
It's the mob mentality in the
Oh
group.
yeah.
So it's not even the whole scene.
That's true.
It's probably, and this is a guess. It's probably like 20 or 30 people that are like, you know what, we're just angry with our lives and where everything is and blah blah blah, and we're gonna make everybody else miserable if we can.
Or jealousy, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe they see
Yeah.
like how many plays you have or something, and they're just
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy's further than me, right? Like
Our last time we did Montrose, right? Not this Sunday, but the time before it. It was packed in there.
Standing room. It was great. Yeah.
I could pull up the post where the guy's like, have a great show at Montrose. No one's gonna show up. And I wanted so bad to go back in and be like, oh, look at the video of all the people there. But you said no one's gonna be there. But I said, you know what?
It's not even worth it.
Yeah, because that's not why I was there. I did start to become like an intentional bully, right? And I could admit that. I apologize. But it was because I saw so much of them, just how they would gang up on people, how they ganged up on me because I said content over art, where I use content as a broad statement to encompass all art, because all art is different. If I say art and you're a musician, well, you don't associate with stand-up comedy, so it's different. And then what I was trying to help with and pitch with, the verbiage of content is not foreign in helping someone to run ads to get greater exposure, because everything you do is content, so that we can break down what is the best performing piece of content, and then we focus in and funneling and boosting that thing. So it's just some people in the group that, were attacking me and sending like very sexually absurd things, racist things. And, it's just like, for those people,
yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah, and those were the ones that were commenting the most. So my tyrants was mostly because I knew they were coming back. That was it. It was like, all right, I know I'm gonna piss this guy off. And then the nature of my job, dude, I've got nothing but time. They'd be like, how is it that you've been posting for 24 hours straight and commenting people?
Well,
hey,
it's my
man.
job.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I told folks. It's like, how is this your job? It's too nuanced to explain.
You wish you
but-
knew.
Exactly. They're like, how are you getting
You
paid
wish
to do
was
this?
your life.
I'd tell you it wouldn't be DIY.
I have a common response because I also make music too, and like sometimes I'll get like hate comments on like my music and stuff. I'll just tell them like, all right, where's your band?
Yeah.
And normally
that
they'll be
shuts
like,
them
all
up
right,
right away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a guy recently that came on our page, and so like these ads that I run, some of them I specifically target certain areas, and so this guy sees it, and it's the same one that someone just asked me for the song for. And music's subjective, right? All content is subjective. You see something, it's like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I say, I'm like, you said that was how much? No, okay, sure. And I know that, I get that, but he comes in and he's like, that was completely shit. I was like, wow, okay, well, even if it was shit, you saw it, you listened, you commented, you're boosting the algo. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thanks for your service.
So you only care about comments and interaction?
Yes, please
no.
comment again.
Yeah.
I don't only care about it, but I care about it when you take time out of your day to be nasty to me. Like if I was like, dude, stuff I don't like, I'll just ignore it. It's that simple. It's like, you know what? I don't really like that. I ignore it. Move on to the next thing. But you took the time out of your day to be nasty to me. And so now he's like going through and he's like, I can't, and we're going on for maybe a couple of hours. And he's like, I can't wait till all the people come into the chat or see this so that they can see that all you care about is comments. And then you've got like every one of his posts, no support whatsoever. And so I wait like maybe like 2 days and I come in and it's like, this didn't age well. You didn't get a single bit of support on any of your comments. And every one of my comments is just like lit up with support. Because it's like, you, if you're going to bully me, just know that this isn't the 90s where artists had to be nice and play nice in the industry, because the reality is we don't have to be signed. We can stay independent. So I don't have to kiss anybody's ass because I'll release music on my own. I'll do my own thing, and it's been working for us. So I'm not gonna kiss your ass. If you're gonna be mean and nasty to me, I'll be mean and nasty right back to you. But just know, like, I also know that I'm working twice as hard, especially if you're in a position to make or break something. where it's like, okay, well, you're the gatekeeper, and I'm gonna work twice as hard to get over that gate or around it or under it or fly. Like I do that in every rip. Like I got too many stories of
Yeah, but you might have spent like
places.
3 hours arguing with an 8-year-old for like all you know.
yeah, could have been, but
you gotta use your time well.
yeah, well,
There's music to be written.
and even this stuff is that's the plague of the hopeless romantic musician, because we put ourselves in positions that then give us the motivation to write the content that's gonna be the next big inspiration for a generation. So maybe you're right, but I will say that I was looking at it yesterday, maybe not yesterday,
But you
the
love
other
being in
day.
people's head. You love just being like, oh yeah, eat some of this cake.
No, not
Air
necessarily.
fuel does add to the algorithm. It really
Yeah,
does.
it does, yeah.
Bad press is good press.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
And that's only in today is like everything is negative and nasty. People love it, and I just like, yuck. Like I don't really enjoy that. But when you know it, since I know that, when they start doing that, it's like, okay, I'll play the game with you. That's why when I said it probably wasn't, it's not 3 hours straight. It's probably like 3 hours along this length of time that we have been going back and forth. But
You better
it
link
brought-
this radio show
but it
to that
brought-
guy.
Oh well, but it brought
We should use
people.
some more viewers.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
great.
yeah.
But it brought people to that
All are welcome.
post from all over the world. So yeah, man.
I will say, first and foremost, thank you for your service. Sincerely, thank you very much. That really does mean a lot to a lot of people out here. And I think it's a cool thing because it taught you a lot of morals. And you're a superhero, bro. I mean,
I don't know about
you
that.
work for the Chicago Fire Department right now, bro.
Oh, man.
That's it's a
Facts.
really beautiful, noble thing. And again, thank you for what you did, what you're doing right now, bro. I really do appreciate that. How does that intermingle with being a musician? I mean, is there any parts of your job that you kind of carry into the music? Obviously, you got "Eye of the Tiger" as one of your great cover songs.
Dude, they
You know?
co-signed that too.
Yeah,
They've co-signed it like 4 times. Like he'll just show up and repost it. We did what was the other show we did? What was that one called?
City
Chicago
Winery or
Music Guy.
no?
Oh yeah, Chicago Music Guy.
Yeah, so we did that one and we found out that I didn't know he was from Chicagoland area.
wow.
He lives like an hour away from the city. And the guy was like, "Yeah, I write with him all the time." I'm like, bro, plug me. But
Jim Peterick.
yeah,
Jim Peterick.
and he
Really cool dude. Are you familiar with Jim Peterick?
We've met him like several times.
Yeah.
He's wild.
He is like, I do a lot of like Joker cosplay, and I look at what he wears all the time. It's like purple leather, like the snakeskin.
He's got a
boots.
cape on.
Cape, yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like, dude, I want to be Jim Peterick.
I
but I'm
know.
not.
nice.
He's a cool dude.
You should
yeah.
read the Wikipedia article on him though. Like he was like one of the biggest songwriters in the world by the time he was like 20. It was
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think you could have that level of success like in today's world. But you should read it sometime. I was like, oh wow, he did a lot more than like Eye of the Tiger.
Dude, Nickelback, that was kind of like the big thing about them. And Prince. Huge writers for like everybody.
Yeah, but people like Prince or or something right like are like once in a generation. And this dude.
But all
like,
these
Yeah.
guys are just crazy.
Yeah.
But it kind of bleeds over mostly on the business side and the structure side, which is why I set up like where I have my quote unquote generals, right? Where we have 2 MDs, but that wasn't because they just inherently wanted to be MD. It was like, hey, you guys gotta stop fucking looking for me on the stage. If I'm 6 feet in front of you, I shouldn't be sending cues to tell you when to change stuff. You know what I mean? And yeah, we practice it until we know it, until we don't get it wrong. But there's still moments where it really happens. Like in rehearsal, Matt has a talk back, and he'll even go in and just be like, "Hey, we're gonna repeat this one part." I'm like, "Good use to that," you know? Because I can hear it in my ears, and then I'm like, "Okay, cool. I know what we're doing." And it's simply just making sure that everybody is on the same same page. So having like visual cues, verbal cues from Lo and from Matt really help. But also, it gave me the ability, or I guess superpower, because you used superhero earlier. The superpower
I
for
define it as superhero,
All right.
for sure, absolutely.
of fortitude.
A lot of people would.
Fortitude is one of the things that the military really does try to instill in folks, and I've got it. Like all the years of constant failure and minimal success, or always being told no. Like you get that fortitude, mental fortitude, and then resilience to be able to bounce back. And I'll get an email and it's like, hey, you weren't selected for this thing. I used to get depressed about those things. I really did. And I know there's tons of people who said the same thing. Yeah, I just got told no so much that it doesn't affect. Yeah, basically, I'm desensitized to a no. I see a no and I'm like, ha, you're lost. And then I move on to the next thing, because some of those people have come back years later. It's like, oh my God, can't wait to work with you. Aha, I'm glad that you've come here. Here's my writer. Here's my contract. This is how much I want. Like, you're able, the ball's in your court. So most times it wasn't no, it was just not right now. And when it does finally come back, like, we're in so much better of a position than we were before. It's just a sweep, you know? So having that fortitude and like learning all those leadership styles and concepts, I'm able to utilize that every day, because all people are different. And they kind of, we're forced to work with everyone from different walks of life. Matt mentioned that he grew up in the church and no longer there now, though, but focused on music, and he plays with like multiple bands. So I know, okay, with Matt, I need to be extremely detailed and short, so that it's easy for him to go back and just see in a one-liner, like, this is what we're doing. Okay, got it. Because if I give him so much more information, it probably won't work. When Low Keys is different, where she's a freaking brain and she can read as fast as Superman. So you can give her maybe a paragraph or two of stuff and information, because she's going to skim through that and be like, got it. Right? Yeah, you can do one-liner, but the more detailed you are, then the better, because I know that she can like swing through it. So like understanding like the people that I work with, and just having the confidence to be their leader, right? I kind of get that from the same stuff that I had to do in the military. Like, I was in for 12 years, but I was also a drill sergeant, so I did become an NCO. I led like squad when I was deployed. Then I became like a platoon. I became a platoon leader. So platoon sergeant. So I was in charge of folks since I was in for 2 years before I made E5 sergeant. So 2 years in the military, I'm already like telling people what to do and how to do it. So I had a lot of mentorship on me, just on how to be a leader. And so like I've always taken those things, and it's still a process, still a learning process. I sent out a message to these guys today on reflection of stuff that I'm like, you know what, these definitely were leadership failures, and I just didn't see it until now. And it's like, hey, now that I've identified this, I need your help. Right? As I told you, there's nothing wrong with ask for help. I need your help to make sure that we don't repeat these same mistakes again. Like, sure, yeah, I'm leading, but if you trust me to lead you, you might want to say something when you feel like we're going off path here, because if I lead us into a ditch and we all die, like, what benefit is that?
Yeah, and I mean, he definitely will like play up like, oh yeah, I was a drill sergeant and, you know, I was a hard ass in the military. Like, fact of the matter is, like, I mean, he's like almost like too nice to a lot of the musicians he plays with, and I don't think he doesn't like yelling. He really doesn't like to get mad. Whereas me, like, I have no problem being like, you know, douchebag, like, because like
they've got anger problems.
Oh, and her, yeah, I mean, she terrifies me.
Tell me about it.
So I mean, that's what, right? Like, I mean, especially now that I've been playing music with a lot of like good acts and stuff, like, I think you really kind of have to. Sometimes it can be hard to like separate like maybe the fakers from like the more talented people or people with work ethic. Really, like, talent is kind of like secondary to work ethic. I know very talented people that are like very lazy, and whereas someone who's just like always picking up their guitar, always like working on their music, is going to go a lot further. And so I think after a while you kind of have to develop the skill to be able to just like separate those people out mentally, or if someone's dicking around, just be like, hey, like, don't fucking do that. Like, you know, you have to show up to practice. You actually have to learn your music. Like, you can't just coast on like your like innate abilities. So yeah, like, I mean, he'll definitely like pretend to be a hard ass, and I'll like literally just or her too. Like, I sometimes you just look across the stage and see, and she's like,
yeah,
it's like smoke just coming off.
So we were working on last rehearsal. We were working on a song, and with the background vocalists, Suit and Yodi, and it just wasn't going the way that I needed it to. And I'm like, I'm about to move on. Matt's over there like, no, we got plenty of time. We can get it right. And I look over at Lo,
like, no.
and she's hand like this, playing with one hand, looking at the phone. I'm like, I think we move past this one, and come back to it later. It's like, Do not invoke her wrath.
Because she was out of like eye shot that I didn't see her body language. If I'd seen it, I would have known. But because I wasn't looking at her,
I looked him in the eyes, and then I
then I
gave
I was
him
like,
that.
okay, yeah. I was like, shut
Like
the fuck
that
up.
way, and he looked over like, oh, move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, what was the question though? I think we kind of drifted, but
How does the military stuff?
gotcha.
But it does, and the military is different from the civilian world, and I realize that. That's why it's so hard for me to be a hard ass. In the military, it was very simple. If you didn't outrank me, you did whatever I told you to do, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you believe. Doesn't matter what you know. Doesn't matter who you know. If I tell you to go to bed, you went to bed. That's a weird thing, right? Because when I became a drill sergeant, I think I was 23, right? So I'm 23 years old telling guys that are in their 30s, 31, 2, 3, whatever. I think the cutoff is 34. And it's like, hey, it's time for bed. And he's like, yes, drill sergeant. And he goes upstairs. He goes to sleep. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so the military doesn't operate. So here we are. We're all consenting adults that have our own lives. And I'm like, yeah, Matt, you need to do this. He could just pack his base up and leave and go home and never come back, right? I don't want that, and I don't need that. And so, like, it's always a weird space because things will hit me, but it's also realizing that what I've learned for 12 years is not what the real world is like. And so I already know before I respond, I have to, like, be quiet, be calm, assess the situation. And those are all things that we did. Like, we had these things called the 8 troop leading procedures. So I just shut my mouth and I go through this cycle of the 8 troop leading procedures. And then I'm like, okay, let me respond to this delicately. I had a moment with my trombonist, Royce, who's playing for Tony today. And we were talking because we had canceled rehearsal like 2 days in a week, 2 weeks in a row. And we don't do that. But it was just a lot of things converging. Like, some people had to go to the dentist. Some folks had something coming up. They were sick. And so I was like, okay, with that many people being out, we're going to cancel, right? And then we did that twice. I'm like, hey, we got a show. We're playing Navy Pier. I need everyone here. And Royce is like, hey, I can come Friday, but I can't come Wednesday. I'm like, but we rehearse every Wednesday. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, I can't show up. But you didn't give me a reason why. It was just like, but we do this every Wednesday. And so we went back and forth, and it's like, hey, you know, I know that if I want Royce to come back and keep working for us, like, I can't respond like the drill sergeant, right? I have to respond more humane and be like, hey, okay, I understand, you know, but this is what my expectations were. This is what the reality is. Anywhere else in the service, it's like, if I tell you to be somewhere at 7 o'clock, you don't get a choice. What are you talking about? I'm not showing up today. I'll be there Friday. No. You will be here at 7, and if they're not, then everybody else is waiting for that person. And it's like, you know what? Get in the push-up position. Just stay there. We'll stay there. We'll wait. You know, like, our way of handling things is so different because it's not a democracy, and it's not what's the other word I always think about when I say it? But there's no union, right, in the military. So even on the working side, like, there's no union. You don't get to unionize and say, we want more pay. I don't care what you want. You get paid what you get paid, and you're going to work 24 hours every day, you know? So it's a different type of like, mentality there, and dropping that persona has been kind of tough, but it's the main reason why I left. I didn't want to just be remembered and identified as the guy who served in the military. You know, like, I needed something more for my life, especially after, you know, just the near like death experiences. I don't want to just be like, you know what, he was a great soldier. That's it. That's all. And something that I don't really necessarily fully identify with happily, because this is something that I did because I had to. That's, you know, I did it because I had to, and I found my silver lining in my family members that were in the service. And I was like, oh, they served, I served too. I'm learning the same values that they learned, and they were great men. Cool. Well, after I learned those values, I'm like, okay, I think I'm a pretty decent human being. What am I doing here? You know? And by then it was 10 years. And I'm just like, all right, I need to start, like, really thinking about what my future is going to look and feel like, and what do I want to be remembered for. And there's a song by this band called Magic, and it's called How Do You Want to Be Remembered? And I remember listening to that song a shit ton around that time, and I was just like, man, I think the opening line says, "How do you want to be remembered? As a sinner, as a saint, as a hero, or a villain? Think about the steps you take." And it really did make me like wonder, like, okay, is this what I own? If I perish now, would I be happy with the memory that I leave with my family? Is just that he was a service member, he was a good soldier, he was this. No, I can't accept that, and I had to get on and do something else. Now my family, they used to come to my promotion ceremonies, now they come to my shows. So
Nice.
You're still saving people. I think music saves a lot of people, and you're definitely making people very happy. It's making a good positive world. So
Were you doing music before the military, or was that after?
Yeah, no, I'd always been doing music. Started my first band in like 2006. We were a Journey cover band called Doorway.
Nice.
Yeah. I only did that because the drummer had place for us to practice, and his dad was a huge Journey fan, but he only allowed us to play worship music. So it's like, oh well, if you guys are gonna practice here, you're gonna play music for the Lord, and then you're gonna go and play at church. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then when you start looking into like song structure, right? A lot of these songs are like 3 or 4 chords. They all sound the same. I started finding similar like worship songs that had the same chords as Journey, but then we would like transpose and be like, okay, now I need you to play all of that a half step up. And it's like, and now it's Don't Stop Believing. So like I would do that. I would find ways to be creative and hide it in our worship practice. And then I'm like, okay, guys, now tune that up. Okay, now is that. So when he started hearing us doing Journey songs, he started to give us some leeway. And then before you know it, like we got a couple of original songs there. It's like, hey, yeah, we're doing a show, outside of the church. No big deal. And he just was like, okay, whatever. They were kind of crafty about how they did it, and before he knew it, he's like, actually, I did like that song, that they were working on. So we just kind of snuck our way in there, yeah. But went from there to like a two piece, kind of like your singer songwriter vibe, like acoustic guitar, singer, like a djembe and singer, and we would play in like the subway, do a bunch of bussing. And then around like 2009, started building the idea that became what you see now. And it's taken years to get up to, having consistent like brass instruments, because they are pretty consistent.
Plus, you were deployed like in parts of that too.
Yeah, through all of that, by keeping the band, I've had the band the entire time that I was in the military, because I joined the military in 2008, and that was one of the things that was kind of holding us back too, because I'd leave for a little bit, I come back and like, hey, I got lined up a show, let's do it together. And maybe that bass player was like not fully available anymore, but I need him and want him to be, So it became like this rogue gallery of actual members, not just people that played for us, but actual members throughout like those years. And you can kind of go through it if you look at the music video, Music Soul on Fire. At the very end of it, I go through like from 2019 all the way down to like 2010, and it shows like all the different people that have played, but it also shows how long I had been playing like that one song before I got the sound right. And so the point of that segment there was to just show like, hey, it takes a while before you get the sound that you're looking for, or you find and get something just right. Like good songs take time and they marinate. And I may have started it way back when, and you hear it on the guitar, and maybe the guitar's out of tune, and maybe my singing wasn't quite up to par, but it started there, and then it became this explosion of a song, like 10 years later. So yeah.
Yeah, just for like background too, I know it's not necessarily related, but like before I joined them, like we had like met through like mutual friends and like jammed together a few times. And like I definitely enjoyed like hanging out with like him and his like posse of people, but he'd like asked me to join his band because I think
my rogue gallery.
Yeah, his like his bass player or something wasn't working out at the time or something. I forget exactly what it was. And I was already at this point like in 5 or 6 bands, so I'm like, I actually don't think I have the time. But then I went to, they had somehow booked a show at Shuba's, and I didn't realize this. Like he was in Iraq, so he was
Because I'm a god.
Yeah.
That's why.
he was deployed in Iraq. Somehow booked a show at Shuba's,
What's
which
the other
he didn't tell me that. So I thought I was gonna go see him and his band play, and it is Attack the Sound, but it's like a different singer, like a bunch of musicians I've never met before, and it was good. I was like definitely like, wow, this is pretty impressive that like he pulled all this off from like halfway around the world. At some point he like phoned in and like sang like a slow jam or something like from his like phone. You could see like the desert like sky like in the background of his phone. So they're playing the song. He's phoned in doing it. Like it didn't even like miss a beat or anything except for one point I think like the satellite like cut out or something. But it was like surreal, right? Like even if it wasn't like totally solid all the way through because he wasn't there obviously. It was a very like surreal experience for me where I was like, Jesus, like I practice like 2 hours a day and like this guy's like putting on a better show than I've like ever done. And so at that point, unfortunately like COVID happened. I know he had some stuff going on where he came back finally. It took a while, but then I was like, I kind of do want to play with this guy now that my schedule's a little bit more open. And so.
And he came in at one of the worst down parts ever. The band had gone down at that time, and I was like, this is honest to God, not what we look like. But the funny thing about that, like when they FaceTimed me into the show, I was really concerned because we were actually taking like a lot of attacks during that time. So it's like if you looked up I didn't know if you guys could see it or not, but if they would have paid attention enough, they could have seen like freaking missiles
Tracers
being shot down behind me. So I'm like on this call and I'll like look up because I'm like, dude, I could die. Any minute. And what happened is the satellite didn't go out. I had to hang up.
Oh,
Because I had to get to the bunker. I had to get to the bunker. It was like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta go now. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. It was very emotional
because I had to get up out of there.
Yeah, it was just one of those.
Because the last thing I wanted to happen was because I'm outside because everybody else is like inside of a bunker, but everyone's on top of each other, farting, shit, and like talk, whatever. So I needed to have space where I could actually hear and they could see me. Otherwise, it's like super dark. And they will just jag me. They'll bother me the entire time. Oh, what you got going over there? Is that your mom? Is that your girlfriend? Like guys walking around naked, all types of stuff. So I needed to get out into clear space. But when you're outside, it's easier for you to be hit by this stuff. So I'm like, dude, I'm a walking target, like literally right now, just because I want to be in this show. I'm like, if this is the last thing I do, whatever.
And he was singing too, so yeah, like probably the Taliban's like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, like we're going out in the
Fuck
band,
that guy
baby.
in particular.
Yeah. Is he singing? Oh yeah,
there they are.
Proud singing Americans.
Yeah. Dude, when I was there, I actually
dude.
put a band together for the 4th of July, and we did a show
That's wild.
outside. And one of the songs we did was "Party in the USA."
Oh my god.
Miley Cyrus?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, dude,
no.
I love Miley.
That's
But yeah,
insane.
we did "Party in the USA." It was absolutely nuts.
I bet they went bonkers.
Yeah. And
Those are cool stories.
they actually canceled all outside, like any type of outside performance after that. They were not happy about us specifically "Party in the USA."
Oh
Was
my
it in drag?
God.
No, it was just the fact that it was like, you're okay, yeah, you want to be outside singing about "Party in USA"? We'll see about that. And I was like, so they canceled like all outside performances, and it's crazy because they have a nice stage over there. There's certain areas that are built up, and so when you do rotations there, you're like, wow, this out here, like, shut up, But it's just underutilized. Can't really use it because you'll start and then it's like, hey, I need you over here, or accountability, or you're going on mission or whatever. But yeah, you just try. So that's what that was. That's why I got off.
There you go. It took me like 6 years to find out what happened, but now I know that he almost died for that show.
There it is, kids.
Incredible.
Almost died just to play his Shubas.
Oh my god.
For the kids.
It reminds me of that scene from the Titanic where all the musicians are like, playing while the sink is just sinking or whatever.
That was basically me. Yeah.
They're like, fuck it, we're gonna just die going this way.
Down with the boat.
and-
And where
Hey,
were you
man.
stationed at?
So I was stationed in quite a few places, but Fort Leonard Wood, which is in Missouri, Fort McCoy, which is in Wisconsin, Fort Jackson, which is in South Carolina, Fort Hood. I think they changed the name of it, but Fort Hood, I was there. I was on a Homeland Security mission for like 2 years, so we were just kind of all over the place wherever they needed us on a natural disaster search and rescue team. And then overseas, we did Haiti, Canada, all of the Middle East. So like Syria, Kuwait, Jordan, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, all the stands.
That's a lot of stands.
Yeah, all the stands. And then I got to spend some time in Ireland, which was pretty cool. And then what was the other one? Greenland, I think. Yeah, Greenland, Ireland. And then I was supposed to do Germany and Korea, but that didn't happen. I got out. Oh, and Tokyo, because I was going to do, if I would have stayed in, I would have ended up at Tokyo for the Olympics. During, what was that, 2020, 2021, one of those, whatever year. Because they sent a bunch of guys that were like in my same MOS to Tokyo, and then Germany, and then Korea, the South Korea, and then a bunch of people ended up in Poland. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad I was gone. That was a lot. That's a lot in a short period of time, because 2020 is when I got out. So 2020 would have been Tokyo. 2021 would have been, Germany. 22 would have been South Korea, and then 2023, 24 would have been Poland. For the
You should have at least gone to like Tokyo. That would have been cool.
I know I wanted to,
Tokyo's cool.
but they
You
were
been?
locked. But they were
I've
locked
not.
down.
I'd like to
Oh,
go.
okay.
I really like ASMR videos where things just go really smoothly, you know? And when I watch people form lines in Tokyo, I'm like,
It's very
yeah,
orderly.
they're
Yeah.
So orderly.
Yeah,
People don't
yeah.
like spit gum on the ground.
You know why
I'm
that
like,
is, though.
Nice. It's a cultural thing.
Because they'll go to
right?
jail.
I was about to say, yeah, you will go to
You'll go to
jail
jail,
for almost any of those offenses. You litter, there's no ticket. They're like, hey, you littered, you did this, and if you drop it and you just blatantly forget it and go about, you're going to jail.
Even if it's an accident?
It's crazy how little freedoms other countries have compared to the United States.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Like
Walk-
they'll literally go to jail. Like I went to Ecuador, and for like an ounce of weed, you'll go to jail for 10 years. type of
Holy shit.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
And now it's
pocket-
like legal here.
That's pocket change for you, bro.
Dude, that's
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Here you can do. You know what I mean. It's, for example, I don't advocate for people having guns, but it's it's really hard for people in other countries to do so. So it's very hard for them to defend themselves if they need to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Here, it's you get it wherever and you can defend yourself. In other countries, it's like fuck, unless you're part of the police or the military or something.
Yeah.
But then on balance, they probably have a lot less school shootings.
Right.
But they have more knife crime.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot more stabbings. Yep.
Mhm.
Because the UK banned guns, Australia
Yeah.
banned guns.
Yep.
That's crazy because you look at some of those the movies and you would think like, oh, there's some more guns. I tell you, that's the one place I actually would want to have a gun, like in New Zealand and Fiji and Australia.
The spiders.
Yeah, dude, some of
Yeah,
their
fuck
bugs
that,
and
yeah,
animals are freaking huge. Like, I want a gun.
Yeah.
This should not be illegal. This should be common practice here. Like, this kangaroos, man, they get out of hand.
They'll fucking
man.
knock you out with their feet.
Yeah, man.
Like, it's hard to tell some Americans that you can't have a gun. Like, if you live in the bayou and you're hunting alligators and there's bears and stuff, you gotta defend yourself.
Exactly.
Like, I get it, but if you're in other parts, it's you probably shouldn't have an AK-47 in the middle of the city.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, no.
We've already driven out all the animals. It's
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
really need it anymore.
It's like they're
Yeah, that's
preparing for Red
different.
Dawn, but Red Dawn is never going to happen because it was a movie and we saw what would happen if Red Dawn happened. Therefore, we already prepared for Red Dawn. So that paradox will never ever
Yeah, I
happen.
mean, they can't even do Ukraine, so I don't know how they're going to do the United States.
Yeah, whatever.
Shout out to all our Russian listeners. I mean, no disrespect.
I'm glad Kate's not here.
Yeah. Oh, our backup drummer's Russian. She would probably be like, what did you say?
Yeah. Straight from Russia. Like,
They found Russia.
straight from Mother Russia. She came here to play with us.
She
on
did.
Tour.
Yeah. She's actually a badass drummer. It's wild.
That's
Yeah,
what
that
I'm
Putin. Just kidding. I don't want to go there, guys.
No.
Well, now one of the things we were talking about earlier is gatekeeping. I wasn't really I guess I kind of knew what gatekeeping was. What would y'all define gatekeeping in the music industry, especially in Chicago?
saying. Okay.
Do we want to let low?
Do you,
maybe?
I don't want to say anything.
Okay.
No? All right, all right, so gatekeeping and the definition of gatekeeping is honestly the same for racism, right? Because the only way for someone to be racist is if they are if they are of another group and they are intentionally able to keep another group down, suppressed. So that's what gatekeeping is. Like someone is in a group or have allotted themselves elite, right? So they're elite from everyone else, and they are intentionally making sure that others cannot get to the same level or the same space. So that's what and we see it all
That's
the
happened
time.
to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we have the stuff we have. Prime example, there's this thing called Chicago Made, which, by the way, if you guys are watching, definitely go out and audition for that, for Chicago Made. They are not paying me for this. We actually have a love-hate relationship, but it's great opportunity for artists to be seen and heard and reviewed by label execs, A&Rs, and tastemakers that can actually book you for bigger shows, festivals, and even Lollapalooza. So don't sleep on that. But
Is that just for musicians or all acts?
I believe it's for all acts, but most of the acts are on music. But if you go in with something different, it's almost like you're guaranteed to make it, because if no one else is coming to do comedy and you're the only comedian there and you're actually good, yeah, they'll book you. They'll book you for stuff, you know. All right, but Chicago Made is what it's called. But we did Chicago Made, and some of the people that host and manage Chicago Made have been longtime collaborators of Attack the Sound. They know who I am, and so we've had our spouts or whatever. And so this particular year that we did it, we made it to the finals, and I happened to get disqualified.
Whoa.
When everybody had us like a shoe in to win the grand prize, which was a slot at Lollapalooza 2023. And so so yeah, that happened, and but those guys are able to do that, right? Because it's like, no matter how great my performance was, no matter how great everybody else said that we were, and knowing that we deserve to be on that stage, you're like, no, I could choose that. I can choose who I want on that stage. Doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. I don't want you there because you're being disqualified because you did this thing. And basically the thing is something that they told me not to do, but I have a personal relationship with the guy who said it. So he didn't say it in a stern and authoritarian way. It was more like, hey, don't do that, ha ha ha, joking. And so I didn't know that he was serious, and I did it anyway. And then
Ask what it was.
I jumped off the stage.
This was
during COVID protocols still. So everyone on stage is more than 6 feet away, so we're not wearing masks. Everyone down below had the choice, because this was during where it was still kind of getting kind of relaxed, but you had the choice to wear a mask or not. And respecting that opinion for folks that decide to want to wear a mask, his thought process was right, but he never explained that. It was just like, hey, don't jump off the stage. Explain that and say, because when we're doing this dress rehearsal, there's no one there. He's like, hey, because out in the crowd, we're still having COVID protocols. Therefore, if you jump off stage, like, you could be interfering with someone's like social distancing. Well, that's a simple explanation. It took two seconds, you know. They didn't do that.
I thought they were worried about like if you were booking for like a big, like, say, festival or something, and there was like an insurance consideration.
No, those were all the
Sounds like some
also bullshit. Yeah, those were all the also reasons, because it was also if you jump off stage, you could have hurt yourself and then you would have sued the city. But also, you know, it was like all these things that came, but that's what the official reason was.
And because was it a backflip? Was it actually a backflip?
It actually wasn't. It wasn't.
It wasn't. He definitely did like a thing where you're
nope, didn't.
You just jumped off the stage.
Just jumped off.
In my mind, I remember him.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Come to the show. Come find out.
All right, I'll be there.
You did it again at Navy Pier the other day.
Did I? Did I?
He did do this.
Were they there to see it?
We didn't see.
But he did it.
We'll take
I
your
mean,
word
they
for
were
it.
there.
Come
they
to
were
the show and find out.
Yeah, come to the show and find out. But I did that, and then we got disqualified.
Damn.
But those individuals who disqualified us have set themselves into the place of now gatekeepers. We know we have to go through them if you want to fast track to Lollapalooza. If you want to ensure that you play at any of the festivals coming up next season, like, you go through Chicago Made. That's what I'm telling people, hey, go through Chicago Made, right? There's other avenues to get there, but I'm just sorry. Like, this is the fastest and most easiest way to be seen and heard. Any of that other stuff, they may not see your email, right? I got the email directly to the Chamber of Commerce for Wicker Park Fest. I know the people. I got the 2 emails of the people that book, and one of the guys also books at Sub T. It's never responded to a single email that I sent him. Or I could go do Chicago Made and be like, hey, I'd love to play at Wicker Park Fest, and I'm in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, you know. So those individuals have become gatekeepers, and they have the ability to stop people's careers if they wanted to. Especially if you don't have any other support in anywhere else, and that's the only lane you have, is to go through like Chicago Made or Next Showcase. Like, yeah, dude, it sucks. Like, you could essentially be stunted for years, and that's what.
So you think it's like a bad thing?
I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think it's a natural evolution of this is all the people who were gate kept in the past, and eventually they have good intentions to make sure that never happens again. But before you know it, once you start making money and they start getting shows themselves, they start to live the life that they were denied beforehand. A lot of the gatekeeping is because they want to experience the stuff that they didn't get a chance to experience. So we'll be damned if I give it to you. I just saw it with the DNC. There's artists who are performing at the DNC that I'm like, wait a minute, I know that spot was supposed to go to someone else, and at the last minute they're like, no, we're changing it because, you know, I just so happen to be on the in crowd, so I'm definitely gonna put myself on. Like, I'm not gonna bring another artist here. No, I'm gonna do me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna get me up there first. Doesn't mean that they're better qualified, that they're better talented, any of that stuff. Just means that they're in the position to make that decision. So those tastemakers, I don't necessarily blame them. I just know that, you know, they got there with the right mindset of wanting to help people, and, you know, they also felt the same. You got to help yourself. So
how do you fight against gatekeepers? Should we fight against them, or is it something that you just feel like, fuck it, we just have to like kiss their ass a little bit to get to the next level?
I fight against them.
And are there some that maybe you should side with? 'Cause technically, you know, is like Chicago Made could be a gatekeeper for, you know, but a place that maybe you should access.
I think you should see them all out for yourself and determine, like, my experience is mine, right? My experience in the DIY Chicago group is mine. It's my experience. I mean, it's valid. Doesn't necessarily mean that everything that I'm feeling is true, but it's definitely my experience. And so, like, Matt's experience has been, hey, you know what? I met a lot of guys there. Some of those have been lifelong friends. Like, they don't treat me the way that you've been treated, right? But it doesn't mean that I didn't experience that. So
yeah, both can be true.
Try them all out, because you could be that outlier where it works for you.
I will say, like, you know, like anything, like at your day job or like at something like music or entertainment, kissing ass, like, obviously be true to yourself. Like, don't debase yourself. But, like, you know, there are people that control certain levers or access to certain things. Like, it helps to play ball their way. Like, so for example, like, one of my other acts was like signed to a small record deal, and like, of course, like, when that happens to you, like, it's very conflicting emotions. Like, on one hand, you're like, well, fuck this, I don't need your validation. Like, I know I'm good. Like, it'll be somebody else if not you guys. And on the other hand, you're like, oh, this is like a huge opportunity. Like, I should, like, keep a clear head about this and kind of see what they want and do what they want. And I will say, like, whether it was my day job or the music stuff, I feel like you kind of catch more bees with honey, as the saying goes. Like, you know, if they're asking for certain things, think of it kind of like a job or a business, right? Like, you know, do stuff on time. Like, be responsive on email. You know, sure, of course, like, the gatekeeping aspect is there, but I just think that comes with the territory, like, at all levels, right? Like, I mean, so then, you know, sometimes, like, maybe, like, being like, well, screw this, I'm not going to deal with this shit, like, you know, keep your opportunities. I don't think that necessarily helps you, because it's just the business. That's how the business goes, I guess. Yeah. And I'm sure it's probably the same thing in radio or comedy too, you know.
And it's not going to work for everybody to fight against the system, so definitely try it out, see if it works for you. It's worked for me to push back at certain points because I just, honestly, I'm blessed. Like, there was moments where I'd be like, oh, we got disqualified, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And, you know, some of the same festivals that they were booking for, that I know that those guys won those as prizes, but they also had to do them for free. And then we did those same festivals and got paid for them. So, like,
nice.
It didn't really, that's why I'm
fair.
saying, like,
That's fair.
it doesn't work for everybody. It's worked for me, bucking back against the system that I disagree with, but it doesn't work for everyone. So you got to see if it's a battle that or a hill that's worth dying on, and every hill ain't worth dying on. That's why I'm not above apologizing for like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I consciously made a decision to go on the DIY page every Tuesday and blow it up. Like, my bad. I'm sorry. But did we start conversations? We did. Did people start thinking, or did people feel emboldened to be like, you know what? Dave's right. You guys are jerks. Because they were afraid to say something beforehand. Did guys realize like, hey, you know what? I agree with this guy, but I can't verbally be opinionated because I'm still a part of the system over here, but I believe that what you're doing is right. You think I was coming back every Tuesday because I was just doing it on my own? There was tons of people in my inbox like, keep it up, don't let go, right? And I know that the support is there, so it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll be the voice for the people that can't voice their own opinions. But it works for me, right? In certain aspects. In certain places, it doesn't. So I'm not against it. You've got to try and know what's good for you. Like, we're doing Chicago Made again. You know what I mean? Even though we've been disqualified, and then the next year after that we were snubbed. It's like, well, we've gotten so good that we're gonna be undeniable when we go back. So, all right, let's see if it's the same. And if it is, then that's when you start making your plans. It's like, we're never coming back here. As a matter of fact, we're gonna get so big that we don't need this. But I doubt that's gonna be the case. But it's just you've gotta have some type of strategy.
I will say, when I was like running my own bands,
the bonds.
Well, yes, for example, a lot of times, like, if you're writing the music, you're booking the shows, like, you're doing the management stuff, like, you're paying musicians before you yourself get paid, right? And so, yeah, my approach was always to kind of, like, be friendly, play ball with people. And then when I joined, his band, where same thing, like, he was running the show, kind of calling the shots, and I would just see, like, the way he would kind of, like, talk to people that were booking gigs and stuff, or just say no to stuff that I would have definitely said yes to. Like, I mean, I was agreeing to play gigs for like, a couple $100. And then he'd be like, what are you doing? Like, that's no money. Like, so he literally, there would be times I'd be like, okay, we'll give you like 500. He'd be like, fuck you guys. Like, he would literally just say that.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, that's $500. And then like later on, they'd be like, okay, they're offering like $2,000 or something.
I remember that one of those, I can't remember who it was, but I remember that specific one that you're talking about. Cause this guy was like, and he wanted us not to have our management involved in it. I was like, dude, this sounds dumb. This is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I was going to tell you, bro, I'm not doing it. Because you'd say you want me to do the show. You're not going to pay
He'll
me
say it
money,
like that, though.
And you don't want my management to be involved? That's sketchy. My management can't be involved in these conversations. What are we doing here? Well, you'll never play in this town. Okay. All right. And here we are. You know what I mean?
I will say, yeah, he sticks to his guns. I've never seen it really backfire. So, I mean, after a while, I just started to, like, trust the process. Like, okay, he's a maniac. I'm not that confrontational, but clearly it's working because he's, like, pulling a lot more money than I ever was.
That's a good thing, though, too. It's a very valuable thing, obviously, value of knowing your worth, knowing yourself. But where would you draw that line? If someone's like, you kind of crossed it and I need to stand up for myself, where do you think that line is? Is there a line? Does that line move? What do you think?
I think everybody can answer this one.
Yeah, why don't we start there? Or do you need time to think about it? Okay, I know you've got like 1,000 stories.
Yeah, man, you already know. Go ahead.
I mean, is there a line? I used to think, like, back when I was more of like not naive. I was never naive, like, when it came to music, but maybe more principled, right? Like, especially like when you start off like maybe playing like indie rock or music like that, like you kind of have these ideas again of like authenticity, like what makes an authentic musician, what makes a sellout, right? Like, I mean, everyone always has opinions on who's selling out, even though it can be hard to define. So, for instance, like, when I started playing with people and then people were like, oh, this guy's like a really good guitarist or whatever. Back then, of course, like maybe I thought like pop music was stupid or Lady Gaga was stupid or like
Bruno
whatever.
Mars is stupid.
Yeah, or like
Bruno
so what?
Mars.
No, past tense, stuff like that. Where there'd be a single, I'd be like, fuck this shit. Like, this is the kind of stuff my girlfriend listens to. This is garbage. And now fast forward, right, when you see like how hard everyone's working to get to that level, like I've got nothing on Taylor Swift's work ethic, right? Like I cannot like say a word against like a Bruno Mars or a Rihanna or a Jay-Z or whomever, right? And also too, like now then over the time, like my musical tastes have broadened too, where I have like a lot more respect for just all different types of music. I mean, now I don't even play rock music. Like now I only play like R&B, soul, funk, et cetera, et cetera. And so to answer your question, there was a time when I was younger where I'd been like, oh, I'll never do this shit. Like, you know, if they offered me a Grammy, I'd probably just like say no because, right, like the Grammys are stupid. Like if you're like a serious musician and you watch the Grammys, you're always like, how the fuck does like this person like win like best artist of the year every year? Like I'll like in a week listen to like music that like smokes any of this stuff. The best musicians never get heard. Jazz musicians never get heard. And so I definitely had that sort of, I don't want to say like elitist attitude towards it. I do kind of think the Grammys are maybe for a specific crowd. But now, of course, yeah, pay me. Sure. Like if you give me a Grammy and that means like I sell like one extra album, give it to me. Whatever. I'll cover Celine Dion song, whatever you want me to do. How high can I jump? So yeah, I guess I've thrown out like the things I wouldn't do. I probably wouldn't do anything like weird if it got into like weird territory, which I know he has stories about this.
It's about to get weird though.
Yeah.
Socks.
I don't know if this is like radio.
Socks on appendixes.
We like
and
weird
bubble
here.
suits. Oh, but for me though, the line is always here. If it's someone that I've interacted with before, or someone that knows what explicitly Attack the Sound does and looks like, and then you offer something that one person can't even survive off of, then I'm disrespected, and I will flat out say no. You can go fuck yourself, because like with that one show specifically, asking for the entire band to come out and play like 3 hours for $500. You fucking shitting me?
3 hours? Fuck.
Of course I'm gonna say no. You know, and you know, I remember him coming back and I would have took that. So I actually took a couple of shows like that, and then he was against it, and it's like, you know, we got it. It's always up in the air.
Not on principle.
When we did the Virgin Hotel thing, that
I was
kinda
doing my
blew
job
up-
as the
blew up in
MD,
his
which
face.
is like I gotta still like protect
Yeah.
the band, and so like if we were agreeing to gigs where like we're kind of like maybe at the limit of our like abilities as musicians or the limit of our set list, right? Like that you can't pad that shit. Like I mean, you still got to give people like a good show, because if it's not good, right, like they're not going to tell people for the next one. So that was it. It had nothing to do with the money or anything. I mean, I would do this shit for free, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, same.
I've said that many times. Like, it's not even about the money at this point. It's really just like something that is truly joyful to me. But yes, if you're playing a show, whether it's like Virgin Hotel or Navy Pier or just like a tiny little DIY spot, like you still want to entertain people, full stop. And so that's why I said no back then. I felt like sometimes we were doing stuff that just was like putting us in a spot to like not be at our best.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I don't blame you. Hey, I'm gonna be super freaking entertaining all the way through, and these guys know that because they see me on stage. But there is something to be said about the rest of the team, and that's what he was talking about there, especially at that moment. But it's mostly whenever I see that, it's like, you know what, you know that I have a team of 8 people, and you couldn't even muster $1,000. Not that that's gonna do anything, but
It's like a level of respect.
Like, it's like you don't respect the craft that we do, and you don't respect what it is that we're gonna bring to that crowd. Like I want you guys to come because you have horns. All right, great. You know how much it costs to be a fucking jazz musician? How much schooling they go through? How much the horns are alone? Like just one of those horns are multiple thousands of dollars. So come and say like, hey, if you come and you start with the, oh, you guys are great, and I love what you do, and your sound is this, and you've got all these things, and you say, yeah, and I would love for you to play for $200. It's like, okay. I think you look at my manager, it's like, do you want to say it, or do you want me to say it? Because you already know what my answer is. And managers do what they're like. There's times that they've like, hey man, maybe you guys just do it for like the exposure and blah. I've been doing this since 2006. I've had all the exposure and opportunities for a lifetime, right? And I don't need it anymore, and especially if I cannot see beyond. So most times I will ask the band like, hey, this is what we got. I said, fuck that, we're not gonna do it, and then I let them decide, like with the International Festival of Life. But then I worked it right back into my advantage, because so they weren't paying us. They gave us a 30-minute set at first to open for Rich Homie Quan. Nice. And then they cut it to 20 minutes the day of, after we had practiced like this 30-minute set, all the transitions going from song to song to keep it tight and fast. And I'm like, no, I'm not cutting our set anymore. And the guys are like, I was like, furthermore, it's free. Fuck that. So then they decided we're going to do it. So we do it, and then we get there and we're having technical difficulties, and they won't give us the mix that we want to hear on stage, and so we had to fight for that, right? And then afterwards, because of everything that happened, the guy comes and he's like, hey, I'm really sorry about that, and blah blah blah, whatever. I'm like, hey, if you're really sorry, since you didn't pay us and this is an organization, I'm sure that there's a non-for-profit associated with you guys somewhere. I'm going to want you guys to go ahead and give me a written apology along with a tax exempt letter for the price of what our band is worth. So they gave me a tax exempt letter for $2,500, gave us an actual apology. I shared it on Instagram and shit. Yeah. I was like, hey, damn right, don't play with us. And then I was able to write that off, you know what I mean? So then we were able to run that through the whole business level and stuff, and I wrote off that $2,500. So we didn't get paid per se, but it gave me wiggle room to do other stuff, like build our in-ear monitor system, because all this money that was coming back to me during the tax season, I'm like, oh, what do I do with it now? Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna build and buy things to improve what it is that we're doing. Yeah.
You're not gonna tell them about any the weird stuff.
No,
like the weird sexual stuff.
Wait. Weird.
I'll say I'm not as old as these two.
Hey, yo.
My experiences are definitely a bit different than theirs. I don't have a band. I don't own a band. Most of the work that I've done musically has been on my own. So I can say in the past, I remember back in high school, they had a wine tasting. I'm still in high school, but they needed somebody to play the piano for them. So that's where I came in. They gave me $100 to play for an hour. And for me, that was like, oh, wow, that's $100 for just 1 hour. Even at the time, I didn't think okay, no. It's not bad, for what it is, especially
in high school. Yeah.
Right, for it to be my first thing. And so they liked me so much that they booked me again the following year. So I saw okay, maybe there's something good in what I'm doing, although I didn't see it at the time. I was kind of just doing it as a hobby, oh yeah, getting out of class, I'm just gonna go work on some music. And then up till now, the last thing that I've done most recently on my own was play at a conference. It was a women's conference, and I remember because my mom, she's a minister, and they didn't have anybody to play, and she was like, oh, we want to do all these songs. I'm like, well, you want to do all these songs, but we don't have that type of time, and they wanted me to do 6 to 8 songs, and I didn't know any of them, or how to play them, rather. I knew them, but I didn't know how to play them. So I spent maybe a week learning all those songs, and I got there. They paid me for it, but it was just, I was able to discover some things that I didn't realize from myself at the time. So for example, I had always been scared to be put on the spot playing some songs. Somebody will bust out singing, and then you're like, oh shit, what key are they in? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to play next. It's
very, very church, very black church.
It would make me so nervous. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to be looking crazy. But the thing was, I didn't know that I could do it until I did it. And so once I did it, that's where I saw the value in it. So now, they might ask me to play a conference again. My price is going to be a little bit higher at that point, because now I know, all right, I've done the work. I took that 1 week practice. I showed up in the rehearsal the next week, and they weren't expecting me to actually learn or have known as much of the song that I did, and to have gotten it in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
So I would say the experience has definitely shown me, if you know your value, you shouldn't expect anything less. And playing with them, I would say well, why did you turn down that show? He was like, oh, well, it would be pointless for us to do that. And at first I didn't understand why, but then like you just said, we're great at what we're doing. So why would we just get nothing for all that we bring to the table?
Yeah.
So it's been an experience. Again, it's my favorite word when it comes to this, because there was so much that I've done in these past. I've only been with the band for 2 years, but I've learned so much in the 2 years that I did not learn 20-some years ago.
Playing by yourself, yeah.
Playing on my own, things like that. Like when I first joined, he came over, him and our guitarist Viano from Viano and the Wave, and Matt's in that too. He's the bass player for that. But they came over. I was a newbie. I had never played in a band
Matt,
before.
You're such a band whore.
But I never played in a band before.
Baby
so
Low, yeah.
For real. And I didn't know what to expect. So we get there and we're going over the music. And he's like, well, you don't have to play that part. I'm just like, well, what do you mean I don't have to play that part? And I had spent that so much time on learning, let me play this part because it's in the song. But once he showed, like, there are other people to do that for you. So that was a teaching moment for myself. Like, I don't have to do everything. You know, sometimes you can depend on others, but you'll still get the same result. And that's what it's been this entire time. We're all doing individual things, but they're all going towards the big picture.
And you came to the next rehearsal and killed it. So basically, like, she was overplaying because she was used to just playing alone. So it's just accompaniment, a piano, and voice. Of course, she's gonna try to feel all that stuff.
I did.
Yeah, so
crazy.
she even produced stuff. Like, she had already went into Logic and produced stuff for that song as well. I'm like, hey, kind of overworking there. You don't need to do all that shit.
Yeah, we had
so
to be like slow
the
down,
next,
bookworm.
but the next rehearsal, like when we had it with the full group, it was like she had been there her entire life. And I'm listening, and I'm just like, oh, that was perfect. You were perfect.
And she sings better
Absolutely
than
perfect.
she plays. I will go on record saying she's.
He only says that because he also plays keys, and he refuses to admit that she's better than him on keys.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give her that because that's actually not true. But
But he'll tell anybody that they're better singers.
I will say, well, yeah, but of the singers I've met in the scene here, and I've met a lot, like for whatever reason, I just find her voice to be like the most. It runs the gamut. It's just like good. It's really good. It's my favorite voice.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah,
No
you should come see her sing sometime.
Come to the show.
Yeah, seriously.
Speaking of shows, do you guys have any pre-show rituals?
Yeah,
You got
actually.
a bunch, yeah.
So crossing over from like the military thing, and this is something I do with the entire group. We do a sync before every show. It's like 30 minutes out, I bring everybody together. We talk through the entire set. It's like, hey, first song, you got any questions? Do you know who's starting that? What's the tempo at? And we'll refresh all of that, like together, to make sure that we all are on the same page. And then we all sing together, regardless how bad you are, whatever. We'll go through like some vocal warm-ups as a team, right? Just because like you're trying to match resonances, so you're beginning to like unify on a vibrational level. And that's where I want it to be before we go out and start performing, where everything is frequency and vibrations. Like, let's try to sync up. And that's my thinking behind it. And then after that, I just have them go, you know. And then
when we do that, the show, it runs smoothly every time.
yeah. Oh, and we do a prayer too. And
I
because
always look
everybody
away.
yeah, and because everybody isn't religious, I always just make a note like, hey, at this moment, meditate on whatever higher power it is that you believe in. But I'm gonna pray, right? So I do my prayer, and I just have everyone meditate on their own thing. But that's another thing too, because collective like worship has been shown and proven to like actually make people feel good, heal people, or help people with recovery, right? So like if you could, there's a ton of like actual like healing and vibrational like natural medicine things that comes along with that. So I try to make sure that we're all there. And then the only other thing I do is I fast. I'll fast for maybe a month or a week, like no alcohol, and then I won't eat the day of the show.
That I did also not know.
Yeah, I never eat the day of the
Is
show.
that for like religious reasons? Or?
No, it's just I'm
Feel
cleansing.
more grounded,
Yeah.
probably.
I'm removing things out of the way so that I know like if the show goes any way other, like, oh, my voice wasn't there or I felt winded on stage, like I know that it is something else other than my diet, right? I don't have crap that I've been consuming that's in my body.
You never get like hungry on stage though?
No, because I eat as soon as we're done. But yeah, I just fast. I'll fast, and then we'll have some magic chocolate
Yep.
right before the show. So like that's really
That's
really
baby.
my ritual. I fast at least a month out. Absolutely no alcohol, no substances whatsoever. You know, mostly water and eating like as natural as possible. The day of, no food at all. Right? The magic chocolate. maybe like an hour out from the show.
What's a
And-
magic chocolate?
Yeah, for the
You know
viewers
what it
that
is.
don't
Come
know
on,
what that
you know
is.
what magic chocolate is.
Let
Come
us
on.
hear what your magic
Who
chocolate
knows?
is.
Shrooms.
Shrooms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now is it literally like a little chocolate bar of shrooms and stuff?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I made a chocolate bar of shrooms, but I mixed it with like weed butter one time. That shit fucking hit.
Yeah?
Dope.
Yeah, dude. I don't even want to begin to know. But that's the only thing I'll have like right before the show. And once it starts, like at Navy Pier, like it started to, because I guess I just started earlier because we woke up pretty early that day. But it started to hit me way faster than it normally would.
Especially on an empty stomach.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah.
And I'm like, guys, the
That's all
sky
you
is
had.
starting to get vibrant. Is everyone here to do this sync? Because I'm starting to trip a little bit. So why you still got me in my right mind?
Oh my god.
Come do this. And then it started to like calm down, and it kind of helps when on the stage, like it opens up my listening a little bit. And so I'm listening to the band, I'm listening to the stage, but I'm also listening to the crowd and the audience. And like just being able to do that, like your response to what it is that I need at that moment like totally changes. Besides just playing the show, there's shit I may rehearse and be like, you know what? I'm not playing guitar on this song. I know I did before, but right now, like I can feel that they want to just see me more. So I'm not playing anymore, you know?
Be nice.
Oh, we talked about this with arrangement. So there's some arrangements where she's continuously playing,
The
and I'm like,
entire time.
babe, we literally can arrange these songs however we want, so that you don't have to play so much. We can give that responsibility to someone else. On Footsteps in the Dark, that's what we did there.
No, you had me still play.
You don't on that song. You don't have to though.
Hey, the bass and drums hold it down.
Doing it anyway, for some reason. I don't know.
Well, we can talk about it. Yeah, you definitely. If you've listened to the song, like there's keys there, but I don't think it's essential.
Yeah.
It's very under the mix. It's literally just like.
I just want to fix it so I don't get beat.
It just helps to fill everything in.
Sure,
That's
sure.
all I just-
Yeah.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So like, how many squares do you do?
We've got it's actually
Think
almost
of it
like a Reese,
Yeah.
but it's a gram.
Okay.
Each one is about a gram.
Do you ever see like visuals on stage?
You ever
No.
see sound?
No,
I've seen sound on
she's
those
the
before.
I
she's
usually
the
see
only
everything.
one.
That's crazy.
She's the
Bro.
only one.
Yeah.
I've taken 3 of them once, and it's like, okay, everything's all vibrant and wavy, and then she's like, "Do you see those specks?" No, I don't. Oh,
You'd be
give me
so
more.
mad.
I be like, listen, when you're tripping, don't tell me about it, because
Oh
it
my
just
God.
it brings me right down, because I'm like, why don't I see the
He's like,
star?
right? He's jealous.
You're just not a good enough musician, probably.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
maybe. But
I
I'm not
took-
seeing the stars, man.
I took a bunch of shrooms one time before a show, and I saw my guitar. Every note that I had, it was a different color, and it was matching my drummer's. Every time he was hitting a note, and I would play the sound, the colors would
the
match.
color.
Oh, like synesthesia or something.
Yeah, dude, it was a
got
fun
'em.
show. You got, yeah.
Dude, I need those. I don't know what was that? I need those, man.
It was some mushrooms. It was cool. It was like half an eighth, I believe, of like
Man.
mushrooms. Yeah.
I never thought I would see sound. I went to Lollapalooza and I saw Shy Carter, and I was like front row. But I just remember like seeing it like come out of the speaker, and I was like,
Oh, that's
"This is the
weird.
wildest
What the
shit
heck,
ever."
man?
But it's visual, and it's so subtle though. It's like the specs you
Yeah,
talk about. Like you could look up in the sky and you'll see like
You're like,
the clouds moving in a different way you've never even seen it, or
Yeah.
like the trees like breathing in a way.
And she saw the chandelier breathing. We're at this wedding.
Oh,
Yeah,
She's
I was
like,
looking
"Did you
up-
see that?"
He's like, what are you looking at?
And
I'm
I
like,
look up, I'm like, I don't see it. I'm instantly
it was breathing.
unhigh. It brought me straight down. I'm like, well, I'm back to normal.
I was at band practice one time, and the room we were in, it was kind of small, but I took like about almost an eighth of mushrooms that day, and I saw the room just like breathe in and out. It was like
That's
getting,
wild.
What
yeah.
happened with
I've
that
seen
man
wood
here?
breathing. I've seen wood breathing too. It's like, I'm so dehydrated. Feed me.
And you know what the problem is that I'm so disciplined that if I'm like, I'm only gonna do a gram, I'm not gonna do more than that, because I don't want it to creep up and slap me. So when I make a decision, I'm like, okay, well, we had a bar, and I was like, I'm gonna take 3 squares, and you just gotta take 1, 1.5, whatever. And I was like, still nothing. I'm like, all right, I'm not doing it anymore, because nope. Oh,
That was so bad. But
yeah.
I didn't.
You guys get to see everything.
That's probably what it is. You're like choosing not to like see these things, and so like on mushrooms, you're kind of like, all right, I'm not gonna see these things. As to where like if you let yourself kind of like, all right, this see a little pattern here and there.
It's your set and setting. It's the
Yeah,
intention
yeah,
maybe
that
you
too.
put into
Yeah.
it, perhaps, you know. Maybe. I don't know.
I just let it
I
go.
gotta work on that because I see none of the shit you guys are talking about.
You just gotta let the mushrooms take control a little bit, you know.
Maybe you got to go past a gram too.
Maybe I do have a bit of a control problem, so I try to work on that. You know,
Mhm.
so maybe you're right.
Ride the chocolate pony.
Yeah, let's go, baby. Puff the magic dragon.
He's so beautiful. Whoa, sparkles.
Just love the pink unicorns.
Oh man. Well, gosh, we've been going for about 2 hours, you guys.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, geez.
Jeez,
Feels
you guys
like-
talk so much.
It feels like 5 minutes.
Feels like it goes by pretty quick. Well, are there any other topics that you guys want to talk about before we kind of wrap things up, or any shows you want to promote? Or?
all the topics?
I think we pretty much
We
did.
did not
yeah.
hit Israel Palestine, but we don't have to.
Was that on the list? I don't remember that being on the list. Was that on the list?
All right, we can move on.
Oh, you can if you want to. I mean, it's your word. I'm just living in it, baby.
We don't believe in censorship here, so.
I was just curious what your guys' thoughts were on anything
Anything and everything.
Yeah.
Probably.
related to that subject specifically, but
You
I
know,
don't keep up with politics too much.
personally,
That's fair.
You know, it's a terrible thing all around. You know, it's not a good thing. War's never a good thing.
Here, here,
sometimes.
yes.
But you know, I will say that I think there's so much going on in our own country that, like, not to say I tune it out, but I focus more on what's going on in our own country sometimes. As we should, right? And
Yeah.
and I think it's a thing with especially in politics these days that they're throwing so much money into these wars that like most Americans can't even point out on a map. You know what I mean? And all their tax money's going to it. Meanwhile, you got drug wars going on in our own backyard.
Yeah.
And it's like, why aren't we focusing on that a little bit more? You know, that's just at least me personally.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's where my problem comes in with, you know, right or left, like Democrat, Republican. When you're taking like our tax dollars to go and support regimes and things outside of America, where there's people literally starving, and the amount of money we're pumping out can just can get rid of poverty, right? Like how much money has gone to Ukraine and Israel just in the last 2 years? We could have ended poverty right away, you know. And it's like, oh well, we also don't want to create socialism. Oh, so it's okay for us to be socialists for the rest of the world, right? So we can be socialists for people outside of our own country, but we can't be socialists in our own country. Like it's so absurd, and it pisses me off, especially for someone that has been the war and seen this stuff. It's like, we don't need to be there. It's not a comfortable thing to do. Like what the Marines, like the way that they fight and they train when they're over there, you know, they have their guts and their glory and all that shit. But honestly, if you didn't have to do it, I would love to not see people there in that capacity. It's really bad. The Marines got it worse, you know. And then it's not saying that the military, that the Army is any better, but we are a little bit better off. But we're still in the thick of the shit, and you're sending. It's the poor people, right, that are being sent out to war and to combat. Those that can go to college and have that opportunity, they go and become officers. You know, same militaries where they can literally never go on a deployment if they didn't want to. You know, they'll go on them, but they don't need to. You don't have to. No one's going in there. That was just their family gave them the opportunity to go to college, and they became an officer in the military. Like, that was it, right? But those that are poor, those that come from inner cities, that, you know, broken families, like, those are the guys that are going to fight. And then the people that make these laws or these decisions for us have never even sniffed like hard work.
Yep.
Right? And I get that hard work can look different, but when you are a career politician like Joe Biden, for example, like, what else have you done? You know what I mean? Like, you're so disconnected and disassociated from the reality of what the people actually are going through or dealing with, that you are governing over, that it's okay for you to say, yeah, we'll send money to Israel to help them, and because it's not your kids that are going over there to fight.
It's
you know,
disassociation.
yeah,
of
it was the same. And that's been the same. There's so many songs specifically about just that. That's what the song what is it? I ain't no politician's son or whatever. I forget how.
Oh, that Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fortunate Son.
Fortunate
yeah.
Son, yeah. It's basically what Fortunate Son is about. And, you know, they use these as for like military propaganda. It's like that's absolutely the opposite.
Oh yeah, the
of what
irony. Yeah.
the irony of that song, you know. And so when you have like these groups, I just get pissed off about it being out now. Like, I'm a 100% disabled veteran. Like, I'm never gonna have to go back. I'm the last person gonna think to call, right? Because there's a lot of able-bodied people that they believe are out there that are gonna go. I'm gonna be the last person to call. But I'm upset that there may have to be that for some individuals, some young men and women who don't have any other options, and they're like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do so that I could be a functioning member of society and contribute back in some way and give back to my community and give, like, honor to my family. Cool. But those people that are up there making those decisions don't give a shit about you. Like, I get that you're doing it for a pure reason, but the people that are doing it doesn't care. That's why they're having so much issues with retention. Mm-hmm. They are. Like, I stay abreast with all of that stuff. They just paid, like, The Rock, like, I think $4 billion. Check the numbers on that, but I think it was in the billions for his new football league to then try to promote and recruit people for the military, specifically the Army, and it didn't work. And now the Army is like, hey, we want that money back. What? And there's a ton of military influencers that are on TikTok, and they're like, if you wanted to pay someone, you could have paid us, because we have platforms on TikTok already where people are coming in asking, like, hey, I want to join the Army. What about this? Those were your best people to put the money into to promote recruiting. Mm-hmm. But they put it elsewhere. So we're always throwing in places that isn't creating a better society, right? This socialism, right? They're not bringing up the people that are at the bottom. We're keeping them down. And we'd rather fund wars than support the poor. That's freaking nuts.
I've never asked him this question before, and I think that is like a very like pretty like well thought out and sensitive answer. I mean, all the answers you guys said I think are like very good answers. I don't disagree with any of those, but especially like well said on your part. Yeah. I mean, I only asked. I'm a maniac. Like, I mean, I'll literally be at dinner with like total strangers and just like instantly like bring it up. Like, I love talking about politics. Not even because I'm like necessarily like a political nerd, although I do like try to keep up with stuff, but more just because it's interesting to see how people respond to it, what their thoughts are, or what their thoughts are not about it. Of course, like sometimes you'll get some like random stuff, like people that think like I don't know, like 9/11 was an inside job, or like Bobby Kennedy is still alive somewhere in Cuba, or something, right? Like, and I love like exploring that aspect of like people's psyche. Obviously, I mean, I came here wearing like a Palestine T-shirt, so just it would be remiss of me not to point out that like way too many Palestinians have been killed over there. Like, I grew up in a very, very super duper Christian household, and when I went to church growing up, it was always like, of course, like there's always been flare-ups over in like Israel and the West Bank, but I remember being in church and they'd be like, oh yeah, Palestinians are terrorists, like Muslims are terrorists, like they're dangerous people. And especially as like a kid, I didn't know any better. Like, I believed it. So then I didn't even meet like a Palestinian person till I went to college in Chicago. And the first time someone came up to me and we were just talking, he was a nice guy and he was like, oh yeah, I'm Palestinian. As soon as he said that, like my heart kind of like jumped a little bit, because I was like, oh shit, like is this guy is he like dangerous? Is he trying to be friends with me? It was so stupid, because of course like he was just a nice kid that was studying whatever he was studying and just wanted to get a job, get married, and have like a decent life here. And so of course, like as I got to know him and then met other Palestinian people, I felt like really ashamed and kind of stupid, because I was just like, wow, like this was like nothing like what like church had told me they were like, and in fact they were just like me. If anything, they were actually more like me, because they were the same skin color as me. And so just by befriending Palestinian people, I think over time I kind of like developed an interest and curiosity in like the history of the area. And so, I mean, I'm not trying to pick sides or anything. All I would say is that, like, of course, like they keep throwing around, oh, you know, like 39,000 or 40,000 people have died over there. But there's like a famine going on. There's a polio epidemic breaking out. Of course, like I think like 70% of the buildings have been like leveled. There's probably tons of bodies under the rubble.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I think like the Lancet like published a study where they like conservatively estimate that the death toll is probably closer to like 190,000. So again, not picking sides, but like this is the 21st century. Like this is not like the Civil War times or whatever, right? Like where we just have like, you know, armies just going in and massacring people and raping women, right? This isn't even like
that's exactly what's happening over there.
No, it is, but
And the fact that our tax dollars are funding it, because the way I see it is like if there's going to be a war in the issue, let them fight it out. Like let's just see what happens.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Russia, Ukraine, let's let them fight it out. Don't help them. Like that's not our fight. Let them fight that. Israel, because let's just be honest. Like I think some of the optics is Israel would have lost by now had there not been.
Yeah, we're getting into some dangerous territory.
We're not getting any dangerous territory. If we keep funding them and giving them stuff, right, so they can fight this war, does that not suggest that they would have lost by now had they not had support?
I don't think
That's
It's a good argument.
because otherwise, like, what is the money going? Because if you tell me that they should have won by now, then I say, well, why are we still giving them our tax dollars? And if you say they would have lost by now, it's like, well, why are we giving them our tax dollars?
Here's
like,
a
either way,
corollary.
it's like, why are we doing it?
I guess the last thing I would say about it is like even the way we're framing the discussion, like, oh, they would have won or oh, they would have lost. Like I think that's like the wrong way. And I think like Americans in particular, or maybe the Western mind, like tends to view things like oppositionally, like win, lose. Like, right, like if China's doing bad, America's doing good. Or if Russia's getting their ass kicked in this war, that's good for America. And like, sure, that's true, like in a very like binary sense, but like I think like what we should really think about instead is like a lot of Israeli people died, a fuck ton of Palestinian people died, most of whom are women and children who are not in Hamas, and so nobody won. Like humanity lost, and the fact that this could be going on for like almost a year now, and nobody gives a fuck about it, thinks about it, like how insane this is. Or that we've been doing this for like centuries, like as a species. That's sad. Like, I mean, right? We're not going to be here like in 100 years, but like as a species, as a great country like America, or in the world, like we should want to do better. And like,
Great
I think
is subjective.
I think like just the kind of blasé-ness about it, I find like troubling because like everybody's losing when stuff like this is going on.
In that case, instead of win-lose, have we not supported? Have our tax dollars not been supporting Israel, maybe a resolution would have come sooner. Because they would have had no choice but to get there, because without the financial support or the backing of certain, weapons and stuff like that, it would have been a lot sooner before they just played all their cards.
Yes.
And like, hey, you know what? Let's definitely like stop this or rule out the ceasefire, or it could have gone.
But you know that, like, and probably maybe the last point about it, I didn't mean to, like, go way into the weeds, but, like, right, like, if you look at, like, members of Congress or anything, they're probably a lot like most of the people you met in the military. Like, there were people from all over, but I think when you talk to, like, a large segment of the population, right, like, I mean, a lot of people have very strong opinions about brown people, about Muslim people, about different religions. They have very strong opinions that they're not afraid to share without doing like any research, right? Like people don't read history. People don't read about the history of the conflict. They have never read the Quran, and yet they're like Muslims are terrorists. Like fact, right? Like ludicrous shit like this. And I think, right? Like of course Congress votes this way. They're made of normal people that got elected into office, right? Like, and they're just going to go off like their preset opinions rather than like questioning their assumptions or doing even like a modicum of research. So I didn't mean to like.
And the last thing I'll say about it is after World War II, they had to find something to do with the state of Jews, and they decided, hey, what would be a great place for us to go? Middle East. And we'll just leave that at that.
Oh my God.
So let's just say like the claim to land. My dad was talking about it, and I used this analogy. I was like, this is your house, right, Dad? And he was like, yeah. So if someone showed up and was like, hey, this is our house now, you got to go. Would you fight for it? So yeah, I fight for it. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I want you to think about that next time when you're looking at the optics of what you're talking about. Because my parents are conservatively Christian, so they have a lot of the same viewpoints and beliefs that your people do. I'm like, you might want to look at that again. Just look at it. Just look at it more subjectively. I'm not saying that anybody's right or wrong, but when you start just doing some fact checking, it starts to open up like your mind a little
Yeah,
bit more.
violence is bad is probably like the easy way you could summarize like the gist of what I was getting at.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, I will say this though, Matt. I'm glad that you asked though, because it is important to talk about. You know,
Yeah.
with a lot of things, and I think when that conversation doesn't happen, and when people get feuded over disagreements and lack of finding common ground, that's when civil wars happen. That's when issues happen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know, and this is a platform for that. It's a good way to let people be informed. And I mean, even thinking about like World War II. You know, like, and I think I'm a little conservative with my response of what I said of like, you know, and I do believe firmly that, you know, I think there's a lot of systematic racism in America that really needs to get adjusted, and we really need to focus on a lot of that right now, which is why my heart and soul kind of goes to that. And people would think about this with World War I and II, where like they didn't really like, if something was going on the other side of the world, a lot of times it was kind of out of sight, out of mind for them in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is natural. That's how people are.
Sure. But now, you know, with modern technology, it is okay to say, as a species, like, this isn't okay for all of us to be doing this. You know, it's and it's hard. So, you know, again, thank you for asking. It is a good thing to talk about.
No, I appreciate your guys like honesty, and even for letting me take it there. Like I said, every time I do stuff like this, like at dinner or whatever, like on vacation with like complete strangers, my wife's always just like cringing. She's like, "Oh God, here we go." We went to Greece last year, and so sure enough, I was asking like every Greek person I could meet about like they had a huge financial crisis that's been ongoing for 10 years, and like
It's been longer than that.
Yeah, it's a mess. So of course I was like asking every one of them, and like Greek people are like pretty emotional, and like every response I got was like angry, emotional, like they're pissed off. They're like, "Fuck the government! Why are you asking?"
Yeah.
But like I just like love like kind of just like taking people there and seeing what's gonna happen. I mean, when people start telling me about like 5G from cell phone towers, then I'm like, okay,
That's a whole other subject right there.
yeah.
And with that, and even with going there, like artists are sympathetic. We are.
Yes.
We're very much. A lot of us are empaths, right? So we feel what other people feel, or we want others to feel what it is that we feel. Like our music kind of speaks to that in a number of places. Like that's why Love Is War works so well, especially like performing it live, because I am emoting like those feelings, and the crowd is like, I feel that, right? And so with all this stuff that happens in the world, that's why it affects us so much, because we're always open. We're open to the things that are around us, and when we see things that remind us of the same atrocities that we had to live through, it's like it's hard not to support that. It's like, wait a minute, this looks like exactly what was being done to me. So I think it's very common and it's natural for a lot of artists to bring and speak in this space.
Yeah, that is
know?
also well said. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But I can go back to being stupid though.
we can pivot back to drugs now.
Well,
So have you guys ever seen sound before?
to end on the fun note, I have a fun little question. If you guys were the president of the world for one day, what's 3 laws that you guys would make? President of the world, not United States, just the world in general.
I'll
You're
answer
the
it
king.
if you guys also answer it too.
We'll answer it too.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do you already have answers prepared?
Kind of.
Can we start?
We've asked this question before. We'll start with you guys though.
Okay. Well, give us a second to think. Sorry to use up your airtime.
You don't know this?
That's a big question. You're in control of everyone at that
Literally, you
point.
can tell
I
everyone.
never let myself think that big because it would like never happen. Like no one's voting for like a 5'5" like brown midget to be like president of the world. But if they did, if they made the mistake,
Don't always, yeah.
oh jeez.
How many people are in the world to begin with? You'd be in charge of
Wait,
that.
you said president of the world?
World, yeah, president of the entire planet.
I would definitely. Oh, go ahead.
You ready?
No, you do it. You do it.
All right, first
I gotta
law.
write this down.
The first law I'm gonna create is that we have to reduce trail mix by 30% raisins.
Can you dream a little bit?
There is too many raisins in trail mix. I need less raisins.
This guy's
in
got
trail
my
mix.
vote.
Okay.
They're just dried up grapes,
Yeah. It's like, and why do we need so many?
right?
Like,
They're pruning.
Anyway.
Sorry.
who is keeping Raisin Bran in business? Get
Old
those guys
people.
out of here.
And Jack.
Oh man.
I
dude.
love Raisin Bran. I ain't
Oh,
gonna lie
no.
about that. The trail mix I get though.
Yeah, right. Too many raisins. So that's one. Two, I think that I would make it mandatory that before you go to university in any society or culture, that you will be a public servant for at least 2 years in wherever you're from. So that means that you're gonna work in the military, you're gonna work in the Red Cross and all that stuff. Like, you have to do it for 2 years. You have to learn and see the world, right? And that kind of goes to what we were just talking about, where some people they don't know where these places are. It's because they don't put themselves in positions to get out. It's just staying inside of a comfort zone and say that I tried. Like, if you're in the Red Cross, you're going everywhere in the world, or you're gonna see some places that you never thought you'd see before. I think everyone should do that, and I think that should be unanimous and not a decision, not a choice. It's like, hey, graduated high school, I'm gonna go to college. It's cool. College is free for the first degree, but you're gonna serve 2 years in the public sector, and that's
a good rule.
And that's gonna actually build up the equity for you to go to school.
Plus, then they see the world, and it's going to broaden we just make better civilians
their
that
experience. Yep. But that would kind of be the thing. Like, it's like, hey, I worked for this, I'm getting paid, but like how you pay in the Social Security or whatever, instead of Social Security, it's paying in Social Security, but the Social Security is going to cover that first degree. So that first 2 years is actually all of your electives that are taken care of. So you're really only going to college for 2 years afterwards. That's how I would do that. Okay.
Nice.
And then the very last thing, if I were president for one day, I would I want to go to which one is that one? Far was it south? Is that Antarctica?
That's the most southerly continent.
Yeah, I want to go there.
Yeah, but you could go there now.
No, I don't want to go there like that.
You want to go there as president of the world.
If you know, you know. For those listening,
I know.
Yeah,
we were talking about this last week.
I want to.
I don't know. So
I want to go and I want to see, because why would Nazis be all the way in Antarctica? What are they looking for? Right? There's something more there that we'd get on for another 2 hours. But I'm just saying, if you know, you know. If I'm president for 1 day, I'm going, because the first two things, I could do that in the morning time. Okay, here's a new bill about trail mix. Here's a new bill about the school, and I'd already have that laid out by the time my day came to be present for the day. So, boom, here we go. This order will never be rescinded. It'll stay forever. And I'm like, all right, what do I got? I got fucking 22 hours left to be president. I want to go to Antarctica, and I want to see.
Secret Nazi base.
It's not secret Nazi. You don't know. So because you don't know, you say it's a big thing. When you start researching it, you're gonna go down the rabbit hole and be like, "Yo, what is happening in this world?" I don't know, but I want to see journey to the center of the world. Just saying.
Can I ask you a question? Because I have a couple theories on it. From what I've read, and not to crawl too deep in the rabbit hole.
We're already in the rabbit hole now.
We're in it, baby. We're all mad here. Do you think Antarctica's just a continent that got shifted by tectonic plates and made itself to the South Pole, and that's kind of where it is? Because they say that if there's pyramids on there frozen over, I think it's offensive to think that people didn't build pyramids for eons and eons, you know. But to see that shift downwards and get sucked down to a pole, do you think that's what it is? Do you think? What do you think?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that whole tectonic plate thing. What they call it before?
Pangea.
Pangea, right? Pangea. It's that one's hard to accept, especially when you look at the science is some large meteor or something came and impacted the planet and then broke up Pangea to the place that it is now. And when you look at topographic maps, you can kind of see things that should make sense and where they could kind of piece together, but there's still huge and vast, just voids between that.
You're talking about the oceans.
Yeah. Some of those voids are super huge. I don't know if I could completely accept that. So, I mean, I don't think it was part of Pangea. I think that Pangea had a few things that were definitely a part of it, and those things separated. But I think that may have been most of the early form crust of Earth. So I think it wasn't a part of Pangea, maybe a part of something else, and kind of shifted his way the rest of the way there. But it's stuff on there that does not make sense, and for it to be there, and for how old they say that it is, it's like we gotta rewrite a whole bunch of history if that's the case. If we have like structures that are you could see on Google Maps, pyramids and stuff that are on there, and even the whole, alien side of it, or extraterrestrial life, or more or hyper intelligent life, like those theories of them being involved in everything we have. Like just look at Indian like gods and the stories that they tell about them alone. You're like, that was a real person. I don't think that one was that's not a make-believe. They got way too many guys for someone to sit around. Like, you look at the civilizations that all have grown up around each other, and for all, I know that they all have lots of gods, right? Like, some of them have way more gods than others, and were older than others. It's like, where are they finding these people from? How are they getting this creative with the things that these people can do? Like, that these individuals can do. This individual can fly or shoot, fire, laser. Like, they've got all of these things. Like
depiction of serpents flying.
Yeah. Like, how do you?
They don't know how to describe it other than that. Yeah.
How do you get this creative?
Way and they all saw
then.
the same thing.
Yeah.
In different cultures.
Right, in different cultures. And they built similar structures erected to those similar beings. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's why I want to go to Antarctica. I feel like there's answers there, and, they don't want us to see them.
Dress warm.
Yeah.
All right, Lo, if you were president of the world.
My rules would be more for the people.
Let's hear it.
Because I think about the things that I'd like to happen right now that I know would probably never happen. But if for that one day, I would say everyone would be able to eat for free. Like, no one would have to pay for anything. You go in the restaurant and you go, and this will be worldwide. You go in wherever you have food available and you eat free. And then I'll also say, it's going to sound crazy, but same with the healthcare. You got an issue, you can get a free appointment.
What is this socialist bullshit?
I was about to say,
Let me finish.
She's a socialist.
Let me finish. It's just people struggle, and a lot of times we think about what we're going through that we forget that other people are dealing with things too, and sometimes a lot worse than what we're currently going through. So I would just say, like, for that one day, free healthcare. And then I don't really have a third one. I mean, those are like my two.
Come on, you
two
got one
main
more in you.
things.
Got more. Help the world.
Come back to me on the last one.
Come back to me.
Just so I'm clear, I thought like the question was like, you get to be president of the world for a day, but then like if you pass these laws, these are like permanent, or are these laws only in effect for one day?
That's a good question.
Oh, maybe there is no answer.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna ask
remember
that
now.
question, bro.
I remember
Like,
what it was.
You're in too deep.
The one that I had last. So obviously we know inflation is a thing. I would say for that one day, everything will go back to the price of what it was back in the day.
All right, let's get Nelson Mandela out of here.
25-cent bag of chips.
So you eat free. So everybody will still eat free. But like
Head down
certain
to
things you'll be
$5.
able to buy that was, let's say, like in the 50s or whatever,
Oh, I
or the
get it.
70s, like that. For that one day, that's what the price is going to be.
so this is basically the day after the purge.
Yeah. A cleanup
it.
process. So
Purged. You should be
That's what I'm
hungry. You
thinking.
eat for free. Healthcare is free, and
you can just.
all
not worry
I
about
you know what?
that
As
day.
an idealist, yes, I like
It
everything
probably
you
wouldn't
said.
happen, but
No.
what
There's
you got,
hope.
Matt?
Mine are not as good as either of those, especially your 2-year mandatory service one is actually like clever. That seems like good policy. Mine, okay, obviously, first thing I'd do, Palestine would get a state for them, so I'd make Palestinian statehood. That'd be rule number 1. Number 2, I would say to I would make this a law, ban all like money and lobbying in governments. So no lobbying, no money influence, no super PACs, nothing like that. All of it's out. Like my wife actually works in like marketing, and So like they work with like pretty big companies, and like the amount of influence they wield on like legislation is actually like pretty. Like people kind of have an idea, but she actually like sees like the numbers, and she's like, if people had any idea like why you're paying out the ass for like everything, especially drugs, like you'd be mad too. So yeah, fuck them. Rule number 2 would be ban all lobbying, money, PACs, everything from governments. And then number 3, I would just go ahead and say, like, since I'm president of the world for that one day, I would make it where all the governments in the world would just get combined into one single world government for 2 reasons.
He's the Antichrist.
Yeah, for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is, like, if there's only one government, it can't fight against itself, right? Like, it's very easy for, like the Congo to fight, like, Nigeria or something. But if there's only one government, like Worldistan or whatever, it can't fight itself. The other reason would be, yeah, fine, yeah, I have troublesome Christians. Like, I know they're very scared that, like, the world, like, when there's one government at the end of times, like, that's the end of the world. And I want to be like, oh, look, we did it, and the world's not ending, so maybe you guys could chill out about that stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Sorry, too.
No, so with all of that, plus the socialist stuff, plus, dude, the world would be a better place.
It'd be a better place. And there'd definitely be less people dying.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Could you guys imagine if everybody just got together and did something about everything?
Go figure.
I feel
You
like
mean we don't have to profit off other people? Whoa!
I feel like there's a song about that.
We are the world. We are the
I think that one works too. I was thinking more Imagine because he
Get
said
me Quincy
Imagine.
Jones right now.
Imagine all the people living for today.
I was thinking more like Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh.
Let go.
All right, you guys are next.
What's your 3J?
Oh shit! I actually have to respond. Oh fuck.
I can go if you're not ready.
All right, go
I got
ahead.
mine. Mine are good.
All right.
Abolish the word billionaire. I don't think you should have
Hell
over $1 billion.
yeah.
Maybe once you get up to like 999 million and blah blah 999, you just like belong to a certain club, and you're just kind of like you know you're okay for the rest of your life. You don't need any more than $1 billion. You know, it's like an evil dragon hoarding money. And I've done a little research, right? You know what I mean? It's just they're just hoarding the gold.
All the treasures, yeah.
But now the thing is, though, is I looked into this, is that most people who are of that caliber of money, it's not literal gold that they're sitting on. You know what I mean? Most of their assets are in stocks and things like
Real
that.
estate
So
and
in
stuff.
real estate.
Yeah.
So when you take their profit away, you're kind of plummeting the stock market. So it's kind of a weird way to do it, but I think in doing so, abolishing the word billionaire, steal from the rich, give to the needy. I would give it back to the people. I'd say let you guys
Occupy
vote.
Wall Street, baby.
Yeah, like you guys make your vote with your money. You know what I mean? If you believe in, you know, Nintendo, my Nintendo stock's up right now. I'm like, if you believe in Nintendo, like you have the right to vote with it with your money right now. You guys can kind of have the say of how it goes. So yeah, 1, steal from the rich. 2, give to the needy. Take a small percentage, but I'm not greedy.
And number 3?
And I think 3, I'd probably give a bit more of that money to farmland, and maybe just kind of farm and tech in that general area of like, what are you going to do to like make people's lives a little bit better?
Yeah.
Ban that red dye. You know what I mean? Like a lot of this stuff is just processed.
All the microplastics.
Yeah, like just get good food into people's homes. Like even like I hearing about the term food desert, when you're just like you see like all these people who just like need nutrition, but they're like deprived of it. It fucks with the masses.
It's where I'm from. I'm from places like that. That's why having 3 actual square meals a day in the military, it was like, hey, yo, wait a minute, this is cool. Like I can eat as much as I want.
Yeah.
Say less.
Right?
Should have led with that.
And imagine even like just good food though. And a lot of people kind of are like, they don't know that like, microwavable foods like isn't the best option. It's not that
Because it's the cheapest available option.
It's the cheapest available, yeah. And a lot of people don't know that. But again, like with coming into the farming aspect of it, it's like people don't have that ability to get it to them as soon as possible, or to grow it on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to grow it in the city of Chicago. You can't grow food in your backyard willy nilly like that. You got rats. You got So I guess those would be my 3 then. Yeah.
Yeah, healthy people
Pretty
definitely
healthy.
make like happy people.
Oh yeah.
Happiness is good.
And like being able to like live, but not just live, but live, thrive, and survive. I think that's pretty important.
To like live
thing,
well as opposed to just survive.
right?
Yeah.
Go back to the 50s.
No, I wouldn't say that completely. No.
Bring back polio.
Economy wise, not like
Gerber.
The big
Yeah.
finned cars, sure. We'll go back to big fin cars, Jay.
I wasn't thinking through that one. I don't know.
All right. I wrote down all your guys' answers too. Like I want to remember this. I did use your waiver though. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
Take a picture.
Let's
Yeah.
well, hey, maybe we'll start the green party right here. This
Hey.
is kind of the start of it.
I don't know. I didn't really think this far ahead. I would definitely change stuff with like the school systems. I feel like kids aren't, even when I was in school, we weren't learning the things we were supposed to learn, like financial stuff or like how to buy a house and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we were mostly learning like fucking Pythagorean theorem, which I've never used ever after graduating fucking elementary school.
Sometimes you don't know the length of the hypotenuse, Jay. Come on.
It's called Siri.
Right. Exactly. ChatGPT.
Right. That's partially what we use for here. I would something similar to what you said, but not like it would be like, since I used to work the service industry a lot, I feel like people should be part of like their criteria in school to like work the service industry for like a year, just so like it helps you like deal with like people and how to be like less of an asshole to people, because when you get treated like shit from other people, it kind of puts you like into like a place where you're like, oh fuck,
Right.
I should probably not treat people this way.
Yeah.
So schools,
Yeah, the frequency of Karens would really drop if that was like.
exactly. You know what I mean? And then probably the last thing, I don't even know, man. More music for people, man. It's mandatory that everybody has to listen to a full album before waking up.
I like that.
As soon as you wake up, I mean.
A full album.
Do you have a
Full
favorite
album.
album?
Albums.
It's okay if you don't. I know that kind of.
Disney classics on
way too many.
vinyl.
I like the what was the one where all the kids were doing the Kids Bob.
Kids Bob. Kids Bob 3.
I think depression would go through the
My-
roof throughout the world.
I have
You're
a
like,
low-key
gotta
karaoke.
listen to Bruno Mars sung by this 5-year-old again.
Hey, honestly, I'm with you on that. Some of that's just super cringe. It's like, that's not the words. And the fact that you changed it to this word makes me feel some kind. Yeah, it makes me feel some kind of way.
How
Yeah,
dare you turn him into bubblegum pop?
Kids Bob.
That
What?
might increase world violence. I think.
That was great though. I remember Kids Bob. And now that's music.
And now,
What now are they on?
I don't know, but I was listening to a podcast called Switch on Pop, and they were talking about it. But this episode was from like 2020, and I think it started in the UK, and they were up to like, at the time of that show was like, now, I don't know, like 40 something.
jeez.
So it started in the UK. So by the time it got to America, they're way behind. But they're probably, I don't know, if they do it every year since since 93, right? Or something like that.
I'm looking right now. It says now 64.
64.
64.
Sheesh. Oh, wait.
Which release is that? Is that for the American market or is that for the European market?
Now 64. This album includes 22 tracks, including the #1 Billboard Hot 100 hit. Well, that's now 64. Let me see. I don't know. This is also like the AI overview.
Yeah.
Google's giving AI answers now, and I kind of like it.
That's
interesting.
crazy.
And if that's got Despacito on it, like that song was peaked in 2019.
I think
Something
so.
like that.
That's
Yeah.
behind.
But now this next one's saying now 118. This album features 47 tracks, including Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter,
All right. Yep,
Too
that's
Sweet by
correct.
Hoser.
Well, do they only do one a year? I think they do like 1 or 2 a year, no?
It can't be around for over 100 years, though.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Maybe 2 a year, 3 a year.
I've seen probably more than. There's probably a couple of years where they did more than one.
Not to mention the holiday ones.
Yeah.
You know, now this is what I call Hanukkah.
Now this is what I call music, Volume 3. Each
You guys
quarter.
remember like those old school like commercials for like
Absolutely.
cassette for like full like CD like bundles or
yeah,
whatever?
yeah, yeah.
They're like the music of your parents, blah blah blah. blah.
Cause I'm your lady. You are my man.
You're like waking up,
Knock on
Or like
you.
the
What's going on?
waking up covered in like potato chips at 3 a.m. Like, whoa! Why did George Michael come on?
I miss South Park. Oh fuck.
Yeah, that's when you knew, like, all right, it was too late to be
Time
on
for
watching
bed.
TV. Yeah.
I slept right through the Girls Gone Wild commercials. Dang it!
Absolutely. You're not. Hey, what's that? Fox in the '90s, baby, early 2000s. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
dog.
right. Those were everywhere.
Yeah, you gotta wait for it to come back around. Yeah,
man.
yeah.
My go-to to go to sleep was when MASH came on.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
same,
MASH.
same. Yeah. You knew it was bedtime. You're
Like,
like,
oh fuck.
sometimes I would stay up and watch that stuff. I would say, hey, it ain't that bad. It ain't that bad at all, you know?
MASH was a great show.
Yeah.
Especially for its time. My grandfather flew helicopters in Korea. So
Oh,
he was
what the
just
hell?
like
Oh,
he was
wow.
like, this was like what I was about, you know, this is the thing. But that was so funny. Corporal Klinger, I was looking up the other day, and I asked my girlfriend, I'm like, would it be offensive to like dress as Corporal Klinger for Halloween this year? And she's like, yeah, probably.
That's on the line.
Yeah, you're like cross-dressing. You're also like stolen valor. So like, you probably shouldn't do that. So probably won't. But it's an idea. Throwing it out there.
Just let it percolate for a while.
Yeah.
Good.
Not that I'm going to. Just the thought. But MASH was a great show. MASH was a good show. Hawkeye was the lead character. Was it Alan Arkin?
Alan, yeah, I think that was the name. Alan Alda.
Alan Alda.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
He's
Oh, Matt.
that's a good show. But
I see you, Matt. You know your stuff.
yeah.
What a guy.
Well, is there anything else that you guys would like the world to know before? I mean, because we've been going for 2.5 hours now.
I want the world to know that on August 28th, Low Keys is having a birthday.
Yay me.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about how old she's turning, but birthday, 28th.
And then October 10th, is this a showcase?
That's the Simple Good show.
Oh, yeah. It's the Simple Good show for the City of Big Dreams. So we'll be there for that. And then October 16th to the 20th, we'll be in Memphis, actually, planning the Springboard Festival. We're totally doing that.
Okay, just checking.
And then we've got Chicago Made coming
Yeah.
up.
Brought that up, yeah.
Yep. So we're coming up there. And then...
Oh yeah, and then these were kind of little notes, and I guess I did want to talk about stuff, but for all the artists that are out there, if you've never heard of NACA, the National Association for College Activities, check it out. It's a great resource for like bands. If you know your worth and you want a place that's going to give you your worth, NACA is the place to do it. You invest into it, but they also make sure you get paid what you request for your shows. So we've been able to do a couple of NACA shows. We're actually going to a NACA conference this year, and they'll typically book, like, they'll try to do like a bulk booking. So it'd be all these universities and colleges there. And it's like, hey, we're really close with Loyola University of Chicago and Northeastern and Northwestern and SIEU and Michigan, and say, hey, if you book with all of us for 20% off, we'll book you throughout the entire year. And you're like, oh, 20% off? Okay, yeah, I'll do it. You know, it may not be your exact price, but you're about to hit all of these shows and all of these colleges, like all of these universities. So you get in front of people, and you can do that yourself. Okay, you see, I'm helping out you DIYers. You can do that yourself. You don't need anybody to manage it for you. You can do it yourself. And they give you the resources. They give you a spreadsheet with all of the contact information for each of those universities, who the person is that does the booking, who the person that's running like those specific like activity sections and stuff. So you got abundance of information to be able to reach out and find exactly who you need to talk to see about getting booked, or you can also go to the conference. So that was a little something. And then Attack the Sound's supposed to be back in Toronto next year for like 6 shows. We don't have any specific dates yet, but they want us to come back for 6 shows next year in Toronto. So we played what did we play at?
It was in Toronto.
Yeah,
In June.
What was it called?
North by Northeast.
Yeah, so we played North by Northeast, which is basically Canadian South by Southwest. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, it's a Canadian South by Southwest. So we played that, and that was in Toronto, and we made a great impression there. That we've been talking with a company and a label there that wants to bring us back more frequently, and then we just started talking with this group in Michigan who does the booking for all of like Michigan and most of their major cities. So there's a lot of resources out there to do this yourself, okay? And if you can't find those things and you need some help, which doesn't make you not DIY anymore, ask me. I have most of those resources, or someone else has them, and I just happen to come by them so I could share them with you, you know? And then, and then we brought this up earlier too, night out in the parks, okay? Every year around November, December, they have their opening for their grant. You can apply for it. You can request how many shows you want to do, how much you think you would need for those shows, and then the park district will basically like reimburse you the money. You have to put it up front. At least that's how it was when I did it. We put it up front to host the show, and then they give a bunch of support if you ask in advance. Like you can get risers, you can get PA systems and stuff like that. They have all that stuff. Yeah, they have all that with the park district. You just have to ask them. The woman who runs that section, I used to work at the park district for a very short period, but we worked in the same building. And so like I would always go down and like talk to her and be like, hey, here's the stuff that they're telling me. So she gave me the ins and outs. You just have to request it, but they'll give you risers and all that stuff to basically throw your own shows and festivals in the park, right? And then after you do them, you submit your invoice, and then they reimburse you as long as it's within the amount of money that they're allotting for you. I kind of got the hack on that too, where I've maximized the amount of money that we got from that. Like I think we made like 10 grand for the year that we did it, and most people were like, "How'd you get 3 shows and that much money?" I just asked. You know what I mean? Like I just
That's
asked.
the key to life.
Yeah.
You just gotta ask.
I just asked, and then knowing who that person was that is approving the stuff on the end was super easy. It was super helpful too, because then it was like, oh, should I reword this? Things like that. So artists, like, there's lots of stuff out here you could do to do stuff yourself, right? And get paid your worth. And that's really what I'm all about. And that's why I have those clashes with the DIY group, because one of the main things they say is, well, you should just be doing music for fun and for free. Slow down.
What?
Slow down. My ancestors did that, and then other people's ancestors stole that music and profited off of it. How dare you tell me to do music for free when your great uncle probably stole songs from my great uncle and then called himself Elvis and went out and rocked the world? It's like, I don't know if I'm okay with that, But there's resources out there. I would love to help you guys. Just reach out. Just ask.
And for those who want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
You can find us at Attack the Sound on all platforms. We're also going to be right there. And if anybody's watching right now, I got this QR. I don't know if this is going to work at all, but this is a
Let's see.
little
Put it
QR
up close.
on the
Let's
front
see.
there. You go ahead and get that, somehow, and take a.
We do got some listeners here. Jasmine Shaw, she says happy birthday, and Tevin Kimball says, hey y'all, looking good.
Oh yeah, how's your car?
If y'all are out there, go ahead and scan this QR code. Pretty cool.
Scan the code. It'll send you to our link tree with all of like our other links and stuff. So we're out. We're working. We got a lot of resources, a lot of stuff to share. At the root of everything that we do, we're very, caring and humane individuals. But, as we said before, I'm a hardened war veteran. I don't back down to nobody and no nonsense. So, just be careful. Be careful. If you poke the bear pokes back.
Hell yeah. That's how it should be.
Well, good deal. Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for
we had a
having us,
really
yeah.
good time. It's funny. I warned y'all earlier. I was like, we might go an hour, we might go a little longer. We're just having fun, which we totally did. We're just gonna.
Yeah,
keep
we just did like
rolling.
3 hours.
Yeah.
And also, like, you can keep that card. I got 2 of them. These are some patches.
Oh, sweet.
This is like merch that we sell, but
Dude, I love
they're
patches.
Velcroed on the back.
Oh, nice.
And then I
How
brought
military
this.
of you. That's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. And then I brought this because when one of the last times I was here in Q4, or at least one of my favorite memories is they used to have a space here where you could perform, and we released an EP back in 2017, and it was called Prequel to the Sound, which I basically retconned since then, but I still have these like sleeves from when we had all of the albums and stuff like that. So this is a little piece of history, but it also has our QR for all of our current stuff on there. And then on the back, there's a bunch of songs that were originally released back in 2017, 16, things that I worked on, the band had worked on. And you can see all the collaborators on there. And so it's like a little Easter egg hunt. I encourage you to go and find these songs. They don't sound the same like they did here, so you're not finding these songs, but go and find these songs currently and see what, you know, what they sound like after we re-release them, reproduce them and stuff. And if you try hard enough, you can probably find some of these songs in their original release somewhere out there. I know that they're out there because I kind of see it on like my DistroKid, and I'm like, how is this still alive? Like, somebody's listening to it. But yeah, I just wanted to give you this little piece of history. Yeah, I really love this. This was a cool like thing, and it was one of the first times I was able to like do my own like creative stuff, and I had a whole story behind it. And I'll just tell you, so it's a woman that's singing out, and she's blindfolded, and most of like there's this sound frequencies coming from her mouth, and it's the vibration of the things, because you're attacking the sound, like you're screaming out into the void that is like everything sound and music, and you're hoping that it lands. And that's why there was a mask over her eyes, is because it's like it's more of a hope and a prayer than it is like I'm hoping that someone hears this. Like, I'm screaming out into the void, hoping that someone hears us. So it's like a prequel to the sound. Like maybe by the time this gets to them, they'll care about what it is that we're doing, or they'll at least can see where it is that we came from up until now. So yeah, and we have 4 different versions of this. So I had them in 4 different colors, and yeah, man, I loved everything about this, and it's become kind of like a thing of the past, but it's very nostalgic looking at this to people that were on here, like Bianca Shaw, you know, Wow. So like Will Oates and stuff, that collaborators. Yeah. So this is for you guys as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
thanks,
keep that
bro.
too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sweet, thank you.
And you can keep Matt too if you want.
Hey!
I work for free.
You do any tricks?
Oh, he does.
Oh. Jack's got a place for you.
Come to my lair. No, but sincerely, you guys, it's been a blast tonight, and you know we wish you all nothing but the best of luck.
Likewise.
You know, you guys are really crushing it. I messaged Davo earlier. I was like, you guys really do have like the sound of Chicago. When you hear this, the train tracks, when you're on the L and you hear live performers and you hear the brass instruments, you hear the guitar, you hear the beautiful gospel, rock, blues, jazz, everything that y'all have in the middle. I think what y'all do is awesome. So super Chicago, drag through the garden. You know, you guys are great. You know, sincerely, I wish y'all nothing but the best. And for everyone out there listening, give Attack the Sound a listen on Spotify. Where else can we check you guys out? Spotify, Instagram?
Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Pornhub. We're everywhere, man. You know, no, we're not on Pornhub. But yeah, all of those places, every streaming platform you can think of, we're there. Every social platform, we're also there. I actually do a lot of work of building all this stuff up. Like my main thing has been, I've spent a lot of time learning the business side, teaching it to myself. So, I mean, there's almost nothing that I don't already have set up. I look at my chart matrix and I'm just like, dude, I've just got so much already, you know, together, just waiting for it all to really click and matter. But yeah, you can find us anywhere you listen to music. I even still got a MySpace out there. Yeah, I'm hardcore like that.
Mine's got like coated tumbleweeds running through my
yeah.
I haven't been on MySpace.
Every now and again, I'll just pop back in there just to see like what's
Talk shit on the trolls.
Yeah, I was just like
Remember me,
MySpace.
bitch?
Yeah.
Mine's got a gangster SpongeBob as the background and a 50 Cent song as the song.
Dude, I remember that. The gangster SpongeBob with the money and oh man, dude. Those T-shirts like
Dude.
plagued us early 2000s.
Oh man.
God, my
Gosh.
brother had the one with Bart Simpson with the red eyes. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
That was probably one of my favorites.
man.
I didn't know what it meant before until I started smoking weed. And I'm
Right,
like,
I'm about to say, yeah. And then when you did do it, it's like, hey, I remember my brother started smoking. I'm like, dude, how are you gonna be discreet about it when you wear the shirts with the shit on it?
Yep.
It's like, oh, they're never gonna know. You think our parents don't know what this is? Come on, don't be so naive.
Oh shit.
Man.
Oh fuck.
Well, it's just about that time, folks. Again, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Again, thank you, Attack the Sound. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to see you guys live. Sincerely, I'm gonna keep up with y'all and hopefully see y'all very, very soon. Well, me and Jay usually end the show with kind of some kind words. I was thinking about one earlier today. I was talking to a friend about mental health. Men's mental health isn't ever really like talked about these days, and it should be. I think it's hard for a lot of dudes out there to at least admit emotions and talk about things that are going on in their lives. And I think that one of the biggest things I think people lose track of in anything in life, career, in your art, in your friendships, people lose intention and they kind of forget the reason why they got into a certain thing. So if you're feeling like you're plateauing out there, or if you're feeling like you're kind of in a rut, don't have the best relationship with yourself or with other people, maybe just kind of do a retrospective of it and really remember why you got into this in the first place, why you started these friendships, what was the origin of it. And I think that will help you not only get off your plateau, might redirect you in a way you need to go to, or it might get you off the ledge in many ways, shape, or form. So again, don't lose intention, and always remember that there's good people out there, and help people first and foremost.
Be kind.
Well said.
Be
well
kind
said.
to yourself. Be kind to other people.
Yeah.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
And we're always talking about no crabs in a bucket here too, so don't be a crab in a bucket.
You gotta
Don't
lift
keep
everyone
shit.
up.
Yeah,
We're all in this together. We all just want the
Absolutely.
same thing.
We really are.
Absolutely.
We really
DIY.
DIY or die.
So, well, as always, you guys, thank you so much for joining us to Hawk Wins Radio Picture Show. My name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
You guys have a great night. Be good. Be safe. Look out for the flying rubber chickens. I hear they're flying over Lake Michigan as we speak.
Peace.
Take care.
Bye, guys.